With the opening 5 races of the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing now behind us, we reach the center of the season where the bulk of the work in a title hunt will come from, and for the fans of the short track, rough 'em and tough 'em racing, you better get your money's worth. Tonight, Richmond International Raceway, the last track under a mile in length for the rest of the 10-race calendar going forward, and tonight will be followed up by 4 consecutive mile-and-a-half intermediate racetracks through round number 10. The 6th race of the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is just moments away. You're watching RaceSpotTV. Live from Ridgeway, Virginia at America's premier short track, we'd like to welcome you to the RaceSpotTV pre-race show. Along for the call this evening, as always, Tim Terry, Cam Walsh, myself, Evan Pasoka with director Hugo Louise, and we're happy to have you along for the ride for an evening that could prove to be very exciting if the last couple of days on the sim have been any sort of an indication. And Cam, this is a Richmond International Raceway that has been a staple mark on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series calendar. A little bit different this year, though. We're going to be running under the sun as opposed to the lights.
Well, absolutely, and of course, the spring race at Richmond providing a very good show indeed. Hopefully we can follow that up here. It's a 3/4 mile. It's a little short, as you were saying. That short track love is going to be here in Richmond, and hopefully it'll be putting on another good show we have here. Hopefully something along the lines of Phoenix.
In Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago as well, Richmond, and then you can throw New Hampshire if you want into the category also later on in the season, although it is a little bit over a mile in length as the short tracks we'll see. But short tracks are always fun, and you think when the sun comes out, you're going to be losing a lot of grip. These guys are going to be slipping and sliding around here, and a big question, I think, Tim, might be how effective, if plausible at all, that outside might be in the race to get down to the bottom of the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see that play out throughout the event, and we've seen a lot of clean races this season. I'm not quite sure we're not going to see a 200-lap caution-free race here. We've seen it before between the Pro Series and the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Wouldn't surprise me if this thing goes green to checkered, but as we mentioned, some of these drivers trying to find some grip around here, trying to find the right line, it might breed a couple of yellow flag periods here this evening.
200 laps at 0.75 miles, 3/4 of a mile per lap, going to be 150 miles of competition tonight. And right now, the drivers on track and qualifying to make their night as easy as possible and try to start up towards the front of the field for this 6th race of 16 in 2016. But we'll take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing race recap from Texas in round number 5. Pole sitter Justin Bolton, he'll take the green flag, and underway we go from the Texas Motor Speedway, round number 5 to the works, and we go at it down to turn number 1 for the first time tonight. Bolton in front of Bias, he takes P2. Send Ray Alfala back to third. That battle comes on in turn number 2. Alfala immediately back to the inside of the racetrack. Side by side they go, giving right back to 2-time.
It looks like up in front, Ray Alfala is starting to drive away a little bit from PJ Sturgis.
Coming up off a turn 4 contact, the 50 to Crabtree. He'll get turned down to the grass. He hangs on. He'll take an off-road excursion through the grass. Hang on. What a save by the number 15 to Patrick Crabtree. In fact, Justin Bolton, he wants to make it a battle. He wants to lead before he heads down trackside. And you see he looks to the inside on Alfala. The two going to leave the door open. We go side by side again for the race lead. This time your posts that are bolted. He'll go back to the point at lap number 30. Justin Bolton. He'll jump down off of the racing surface and come in. Your race leader gives it up at lap 32. Caution going to fly for the first time tonight at lap 33, just as Tyler Hill was getting down onto the pit lane, and in the cycle of pit stops, it's going to make the running order quite a mess here. Still early at the Texas Motor Speedway. The number 9 machine getting into it on the entrance of the pit lane. Tyler Hill pushed it up a little bit and made contact with, I think, was Patrick Crabtree in turn number 4. So Alfala's on the gas. Green flag flies. We're back at it at Texas. And it's the biggest gap we've seen all night long for the race leader right now. Just a little bit over a second between race leader Ray Alfala, second place runner Logan Clamp at the 44. He still has the 57 right on the back decklet. It's a battle for P4, the 05 Nick Ottinger. He's on the bottom. Jake Sturgis making the move to the outside of the racetrack in 3 and 4. Squeezed real tight up against the fence into turn 1. You see the run center off going to be what gives him the advantage, and you can give it to him. How about that move? Sturgis, he takes P4. Caution going to fly. Lap number 51 will slow them down again, and a slow car down in turn number 3. It looks like problems for the number 85 of Thomas Davis. So here they come. Ray Alfala going to bring us down to the pit lane for the first time tonight. We go back at it, and a bad jump for Clampett. They'll scramble to the high side. The 44 slow out of the gate, going to cost him a couple.
And Ray Alfala, well, he's finding himself in traffic here. He's in all the way back to position number 12. He started in 12. He's up to 11. So
the 2 machine going to get P3. So Alfala now back in a podium position. But you have to keep your head on a swivel now that you have a lot of off-speed traffic.
Yep, sorry, Evan. We had 4 wide coming off of corner number 4 here around Jake Sturgis, and that was absolutely frightening. I knew it wasn't going to end very well, but ended up with Josh Berry and Brandon Schmidt making contact coming off of 4, and it put Brandon Schmidt into the wall.
Ray Alfala gets to the front of the field. Here comes a run for the 57 to Sturgis out of turn 4. Alfala leaves the inside open. They'll go side by side at 17 laps to go on each other's door. In the center of 1 and 2, the 2 machine hasn't had to really put up a defensive run all night long. He'll use the outside to power down the back straightaway. It could be the pass for the race win. Now down in turn number 3 they go. Sturgis on the inside, Alfala on the outside, and let's toss some lap traffic in as well because a much faster number 4 machine bringing up the rear as well. Timmy Hill is going to have to wait for these guys to sort this thing out, but it was Sturgis with the nose in front at the line. It was 2 times across the start-finish line. They were side by side, but finally this time it is solely PJ Sturgis out in front of the field. Be the first driver in 2016 to go to victory lane more than once. Second career NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series win. PJ Sturgis, your victor at the Texas Motor Speedway. And to take that to Ray Alfala, who comes home P2. That's exactly how they'll sit in the championship through 5 races. And back live at the Richmond International Raceway. So now you're caught up. 5 races of the 16 so far into the books. And you could call it the 1/3 mark. I think you can look at the number that after tonight, just going to have 10 races left to go. And that's going to be even more exciting. But Texas, I think, was very... very similar to really what the championship picture has looked like all season so far, Cam. PJ Sturgis gets the win. Second career win, second win on the season. First driver to pick up multiple checkered flags just 5 races into the season, which is extremely impressive. He's really stepped up his game in this campaign. But you can't either forget about Ray Alfala, who comes home right behind him in second. Ray also already has a trip to victory lane on the season. They come home 1-2 at Texas. They sit 1-2 in the championship standings as well.
Well, it seems like every single week, no matter what track we go to, these guys are finding their way up to the front. That INEX racing car from the Sturgis brothers have been very powerful on their own right. It's great to see PJ working his way up front. He is really trying to put his foot down in this front section of the season. He's done as such with 2 wins, but you can't count out anyone else here. I mean, you've got Nick Ottinger and so many other people that are just really ready to break here, and maybe this 3/4 mile track might give somebody the push they need to get up front and get into victory lane for the first time this year.
It has been a strong season for both of them, and you have to look at the races that we've seen so far. PJ Sturgis got the win at the Phoenix International Raceway, too. We saw that one. Alfala backed it up with a win at the Auto Club Speedway, but Sturgis goes right back and wins at the Texas Motor Speedway, showing that he can get the job done both on the short track side of things as well at the intermediate racetracks. If you would put an emphasis on where Ray Alfala would have the advantage, I think it would be at those 1.5 mile cookie cutter racetracks, because he has so much experience in this series, such a seasoned veteran. Not that Sturgis is not, but it might give a little bit of an advantage to Alfala. Alfala's good on the short tracks. He's going to have speed tonight at Richmond, but he's not going to have that dominant speed. I don't think, at least we have yet to see that so far from him. But these guys, I think they're trying to run away and make it a 2-horse race. Sturgis has led 187 laps this year so far. Ray Alfala leading 165. That's over 150 more than the next closest people, who have tallied up a couple of people up into the 30s or 40s with laps led. But really nobody has come quite close to them, especially in the last 2 races. After race number 3, week 3 and on, they've really stepped it up because they know they're going to go head-to-head. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up at each other's door all night.
And I'm going to add the other 2 that are 3rd and 4th in the point standings, Jake Sturgis and Alan Bowes. Keep in mind, there is a drop race in the first segment of this season, so that's going to factor in. But PJ Sturgis and Ray Alfala, they're not invincible. One small little mistake could very well bring them back to Jake Sturgis and Alan Bowes. We saw it with Chris Overland at Texas, finished 37th in that race. He was a part of that 5-horse race going into Texas. Now up front after these 5 races, it seems like it's a 4-horse race with those 4 drivers pulling away from Chris Overland and the rest of the field. The question is, there's 10 races to go after tonight. Does anybody from 5th on back step up and put up the run that PJ Sturgis, Ray Alfala, Jake Sturgis, and Alan Bowes are? And do any of those guys up in front falter like we saw with Chris Overland 2 weeks ago? That's really going to be the story as we go through the summer stretch of this season. But keep in mind, when we look at Richmond last year, obviously there's trends that are different to this season from last season. This is where we saw the team last year really start to step up and dominate. Kenny Humpy won this race last year. But you look at the top 5 from last year, only 2 drivers finished up in the top 15. Ray Alfala finished 3rd. Jake Sturgis finished 11th. You got PJ Sturgis finishing 26th. Alan Bowes 39th. And Chris Overland 28th in this race last year at Richmond. That could very well play into tonight. They're going to try to reverse what happened last year. And, of course, Ray is going to try to move up 2 steps on the podium.
And the drivers that you talk about, top 4 in the points, they're the ones that have occupied the 5 trips to victory lane so far. I mentioned that you're qualifying, obviously, to try to make your night as easy on you as you can. And we talked a little bit about Andrew Fayash last week at Texas about this, but it is now a consistent number came across the board that your drivers inside the top 5 in the championship standings, including Chris Overland in that conversation as well. Well, they don't have the worst average starts out of anybody. Obviously, none of them have an average start inside the top 10. That's not an easy thing to do. Ray Alfala has been the best qualifier. He doesn't have a pole, though. PJ Sturgis, the only driver inside the top 10 with a pole on the season. Obviously, they have the best average finishes, but I think qualifying tonight and maybe getting those extra 5 or 6 spots on the grid in these next couple of weeks might be able to allow somebody to get an upper hand on these other guys.
Well, perhaps. I mean, we've been talking about qualifying the last couple of races. Just as you're saying, we've noticed kind of that trend. We've seen a lot of people that are starting well back in the 30s. At the end of the day, they finish up top 10, top 5. And you start to wonder, if just how these races are developing, how the strategy goes. Obviously, they've got the race package all set and squared away, which is going to be the most important one, to be completely honest. But that qualifying, it really starts nipping at the heels of a lot of these drivers who are qualifying well in the back. I mean, Andrew Fayesh, he's qualified in 25th today, much better than the sub-30s where he started last race. But, you see a lot of people around. I mean, I see PJ Sturgis, he's starting 36th position. That's certainly not how you want to start your campaign. But you know what? With this kind of track, this kind of racing, I have a feeling we're going to see the strong people go right up front, just as we've seen all season long.
Strategy as well has been a really fun part of this season, Tim. I know you noted that we haven't seen a lot of yellow flags, which is not only good for the pace of the race, but it allows us to see what these guys are scheming up on top of the pit box. Again, most of these guys have a guy on top of the pit box, have a guy on top of the spotter stand as well, working with them, especially the larger teams can coordinate things. And we've seen at least 2-3 races come down to late in the race, guys getting in position to win these things from the fuel strategy. A race that goes green here tonight could present us with the same opportunity, because we get back in the age-old conversation, it seems, that your tires aren't going to last as long as your fuel tank. It seems like 3 stops might be the preferred call, and if we do go green for 200 laps, you might like to go 50, 100, 150, make the math easy. Cautions are always going to mix that up, but there is always that possibility that you can go further on fuel. You could go all 200 laps on just 2 stops. If we get a yellow about quarter distance, you could one stop it from there on out as well, and I think that pit strategy has been one of the more exciting things we've been able to take a look at so far through 5 races.
And I'm sure you're going to see somebody, if we do go the first 50 laps green, they might come in at lap 45, try to short pit it, try something different compared to the rest of the field, and maybe put themselves on a different strategy. But when you look at this race, I talked to a couple of guys at the team, and I asked them, because they've been on the wrong side of the inch on pit strategy on a couple of these races, and I asked them, I said, what's your pit strategy? And one of the guys in the team, they keyed up and they said, plain and simple, you pit when PJ pits, because PJ Sturgis, Jake Sturgis, those guys seem to have this strategy down pat these first few races of the season. We've seen Jake Sturgis win a couple of races at Vegas on pit strategy as well, so that might not be a bad strategy. Try to follow that 57, the 41, those guys down when they decide to head down to pit road.
The qualifying session drawing to a close. There's some familiar names that have found success at Richmond International Raceway over the past 6 seasons that are going to be starting towards the front of the field tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the history of this racetrack and get you set for round number 6 in a moment. But we'll step away as we get set to drop the hammer on round 6. You're watching RaceSpotTV's coverage of the 2016 NASCAR Piquet Series powered by iRacing. Back in a moment as we get set to go green flag racing.
contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be into the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
The road to $20,000 runs through Ridgeway, Virginia's Richmond International Raceway, America's premier short track. This is round number 6 of the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Good evening, sim racing fans. My name is Evan Pasoko, alongside with Cam Walsh and Tim Terry. We're happy to be topside in the RaceSpotTV broadcast tower, joined by Hugo Louise in the director's chair tonight. I want to welcome all of those tuning in through our partners at iRacingLive, Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. Well, the math doesn't make it perfectly. It's 1/3 of the way through 2016, Cam, and I think it's safe to say we're no longer in the beginning portions of the season. First 5 races, get through that, it's time to go to work. We'll get to the final 5, then we'll start to talk about being at the end, but these are the workhorse weeks for these guys in order to win a championship, and we got 200 laps tonight at the Richmond International Raceway. Where does that put us?
Well, I mean, we're just getting through those weeks, as you were just saying, where we are just trying to get that pattern down. You got to get your good finishes here. Don't want to set yourself up for a bad finish. And Richmond's a good place to start that before we get into the long haul at the 1.5 miles. But just overall, though, this first couple of weeks here, we've seen quite a few changes, actually. We've seen a new build release. We've seen this new low downforce model come into effect and just change just how we address these cars at all different stages of the tracks and all different stages of the racing. And it's just changing and evolving the products. And as these teams grapple themselves with it, it's just providing better and better racing as we go along.
This season has been one of the more entertaining in such seasons past, and I think it's been a lot more clean, which has added to that element of excitement. We expect the same thing here tonight at Richmond International Raceway. Cloudy conditions. No, it's not nighttime. You might think so. We are running daytime conditions for this year's race at the Richmond International Raceway. Tim, this a track that has been on the series schedule since its inauguration back in 2010. It spent a couple of weeks at the end of the season back where it belongs. Nice up front. We've seen 6 races. We have seen 5 different drivers go to victory lane here, one of which is going to be starting us off on the pole position tonight. That's Nick Ottinger, and he has 2 trips to victory lane here, back-to-back in 2013 and 2014. And another interesting storyline is your defending champion from last year, Kenny Humpy, took home the checkered flag here in 2015 as well. So if you're successful here, you tend to be successful in the championship, but I think that 05 is going to be hot tonight.
Yeah, and the 05 was very confident on social media. Nick Ottinger liking his race car, liking this racetrack, and you mentioned 5 winners in the past. That statistic might not change, and if it's not Nick Ottinger, you mentioned Kenny Humpy. Yes, he's going to start on the outside of the front row. Ray Alfala won 2011. He's starting within the top 5, and obviously with the momentum that he has, he's going to be good. And then a couple of throwback names on that list. The captain of the SS Hehan, Steve Sheehan, back in 2012, and Richard Towler back in 2010. So a couple of names that we haven't heard in a little while, but staples within the series in their time period. And obviously Richard Towler, a former champion of this series. So you mentioned it. If you run well here, you might have a shot at that championship. History says Nick Ottinger, if he wants to get back up into this championship hunt, be a perfect night for him to go back to victory lane.
And another champion on that list, Ray Alfala, won in 2011. He's back in championship form so far this season. and he looks to get a second win at Richmond International Raceway. It's going to be a long night of rough and tough short track action from Richmond, and we want you to be in the conversation. Tweet to us at RaceSpotTV and use the hashtags to be in the conversation all night long. Hashtag iRacingWCS and hashtag NPASRichmond. That's NPAS Richmond. And join in on the conversation on Twitter. Let us know who you think is going to find success at America's premier short track tonight in Ridgeway, Virginia for round number 6 and the Richmond 200. Qualifying taking place over 30 minutes ago, and we're ready to rock and roll. The warm-up session draws to an end, and we are ready to do battle for 150 miles. So let's take a look at your NASCAR Peak Every Series starting lineup for round number 6. Pole position, we mentioned it, Nick Ottinger, two-time winner in 2013 and 14, a 21.297 best the rest of the field, and he'll bring us to the green flag tonight alongside defending champion Kenny Humpy. Also, a winner at this racetrack at B2. Those guys on the front row have won here since 2013. They've locked everybody else out. A third position tonight going to go to the 5 of Michael Conti. Cody Bias will roll tonight in P4, and Ray Alfala's number 2 will round out the top 5.
Corey Vincent starting in number 6 with Brad Mahar in 7th, Dylan Rafferty in 8th, and Logan Clampett, he's going to be starting in 9th on the inside row. Dylan Duvall outside him, ending out the top 10.
Alan Bowe is going to start 11th, Matt Busa 12th, 13th is going to be Jake Sturgis, Josh Berry, watch for him to come through the field in 14th, and Chris Overland looking to rebound from 15th.
Brad Davies going to start P16. Nathan Wise will start 17th. Both of those drivers, top 5 in the warm-up session, have a little bit of work to do. They're going to be back on row number 8. 17th position, Nathan Wise, we talked about him. Nick Furler going to be in 18th as the field rolls. 19th, Taylor Hurst. Dylan Jones going to round out your top 20.
Yeah, Dylan C. Jones in 20th, David Rattler 21st, Thomas Davis in 22nd, Damon Burnett in 23rd, Brandon Schmidt's going to be in 24th, and Andrew Fayesh 3rd. Well, he started in 25th. It's a better qualifying, but he's still got a long road ahead.
Oh, the star power back here. Tyler Hudson, Evan King, Adam Gilliland, former series race winners, Nick Buxton back there in 29th. Great run 2 weeks ago, and Shane Doherty 30th.
Behind them, you'll find Michael J. Johnson in 31st, 32nd for Tyler Laughlin, Patrick Crabtree 33rd, a 34th position for Alex Warren, Ryan Blackford's number 22 in 35th.
BJ Sturgio is coming off of his race win, starting in 36th position, just on the outside of Timmy Hill. Trey Edson in 38th, Casey Tucker in 39th, and Tyler Hill is going to be in 40th position.
Byron Daly 41st, Ryan Lowe had a top 5 here last year. He starts 42nd, and Ryan Borges in 43rd.
Lights go out on top of the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT Pace car, and it means that we are ready to do battle. 200 laps at the Richmond International Raceway for round 6. We've been to Daytona, Atlanta, Phoenix, Fontana, and Texas, and we've seen Alan Bowes, Jake Sturgis, PJ Sturgis, Ray Alfala, and in second last week for PJ Sturgis once again. 4 drivers and 5 races have gone to victory lane. This is going to be a crucial stepping stone in somebody's fight for a championship bid. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the inside into the pit lane. Your pole sitter to Gottinger. He'll take the green flag, and underway from Richmond International Raceway for the 6th round on the 2016 NASCAR Peak Every Series, and single file for 1 and 2 we go. 2-time winner at Richmond in front, defending champion behind. Kenny Humpy gets the number 2 spot, and side by side for 3rd. Michael Conti to the bottom of Cody Bias. He'll get that spot in the center.
No, they absolutely will. Going in for 4th position right now, Ray Alfala, he's already up 1 spot over Cody Bias, as Cody Bias is just slowly cycling back. I think right now everything's going to stick to the inside for right now, just as these tires are so super sticky. Nick Ottinger trying to pull away right now, as Kenny Humpy and Michael Conti following right behind as they come through corner number 4. They're going to cross the start-finish stripe one more time and finish out lap number 3 already.
These laps going to go by fast. Your race leaders in these first couple of circuits around running inside of the 21-second bracket, 29s and 28s for the first couple of fast laps. But as we work on lap number 3, you're going to start to see those tires wear off all the way up to 1 to 1.5 seconds at the end of a long green flag stretch. So you want to get what you can, like everywhere on the restarts here tonight. Side by side inside of the top 5, Ray Alfala going to go to the bottom on the 5 of Michael Conti. Bump the Peak Chevrolet back to the number 4 position, and Alfala going to go back to the number 3 spot in this one. Up 2 spots already for the Alfala Tech Ford, and that 5 machine not in safe waters yet because the 10 of Corey Vincent all over him. A little bit of peer pressure from behind. Brad Mahar says, let's get up and go. They look to the inside.
Great early effort by the 13 Brad Mahar, but how about that 10 car, Corey Vincent? We've seen some good runs out of him so far this season, and now he looks underneath the 5 of Michael Conti to better his effort into position number 4, and Brad Mahar going to try to take a little peek as well underneath car number 5 as they come to complete lap number 5. Caution on the speedway.
Early caution flag at the Richmond International Raceway. Problems in turn number 4 and facing the wrong direction with some pretty heavy damage is the gburster.com Toyota Camry of Adam Gilliland, who started this race back into number 28 position and was in a battle to hang on to that very spot and had a little bit of contact into the corner. The 39 on the inside. You're going to take a second look now. Getting sideways and out of shape was Michael J. Johnson. Back it came around. He clipped Gilliland. He spun out, and that 22 did a good job of checking up, but unfortunately they ran out of room. The 4 of Timmy Hill gets into the back, collecting him, and as well that 22 of Brian Blackford. So an early yellow in this one. Cam slows us down inside of the opening 10 laps of competition, and one of the things that our race notes is the cars are loose in turns 3 and 4, and it doesn't look like the overcast skies are going to eradicate that problem because we had a bunch of guys slipping and sliding trying to get up to speed.
No, and actually everyone's slipping and sliding, trying to slow down to catch up to the pace car. That would have been exciting, but thankfully, sorted everything. Everything gets sorted out fairly nicely. Track temperature is only 86 degrees. We had jokingly stated off air before the race had even started, as everybody is already coming down pit road. Lap 7, and everyone is coming in except for a few damaged cars. I think it's fairly understandable that they're not going to. Actually, you know what? We have seen a couple more cars than I thought we were going to see. So split strategy already, at least through the middle of the field, but for the most part, though, I have to say, we were joking around, the race temperature for the race last Sunday was 105 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas today it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not going to be fun on these cold tires, but it's going to be interesting to say the very least.
Yeah, and this is completely different conditions as well from what these drivers qualified in also. So not only do you know there's going to be a variance between what you got on a 2-lap hot run for the qualifying effort and what you have on a long green flag stretch working it out, but you take that and you also completely throw a curveball in on the weather side of things, and it might be fun if we see 30, 40, 50 lap green flag runs, whose cars can do what and how much adjusting these drivers are going to have to do over the course of a run. So we did see a couple of guys trickle down to the pit lane. We did mention, obviously, 3 cars involved in that accident. Problems for the number 30, though, Ryan Lowe, 43rd position right now, 6 laps down. I don't think he ever got onto the racetrack. So the 3 guys that involved in the problems in turn number 4, they stay on the lead lap. They're being serviced down pit side at the moment. But problems for Ryan Lowe, who was going to be starting 42nd on a provisional. He's 6 laps down, so I think he got 3 laps in at some point, but has found himself behind the wall early. So the 30 Ford pulled it down into the stall at the yellow, and he has since returned to the racetrack.
And that's really a shame because Ryan Lowe last year in this race ran so strong. It was him and Taylor Hurst and Patrick Crabtree who really had breakout runs in this series last year at this event. And for Ryan Lowe, it's not as much trying to defend what he had last year. He's also 28th in points. He's back there around that bubble area, albeit we are early. There's a drop race to factor in, but you don't want to have that drop race to factor in, especially if you're back there already in 28th in the point standing. So Ryan Lowe, whatever plagued Ryan to get this race started, I'm sure he's going to be regretting it down the road when he's really going to have to get up on the wheel and try to gain some points back.
Andrew Fash, the 3rd, Nick Ottinger, and Brad Mahar are the only drivers inside of the top 10 in the championship so far without a top 5 result on the season. It's really showing you by the numbers how consistent you have to be to get the results. The guys up front, Sturgis and Alfala, PJ, 5 top 5s in 5 starts, and Ray has 4 top 5s in 5 starts. The consistency factor has been there. And so far, a lot of those names, no surprise, are up front early in this one. It's going to be a completely identical front row to what we saw on the drop of the first green flag tonight. And Polson and Gottinger still up in front of the field in the Rheem Toyota. He'll be P1 to the inside. Getting up, going to be in the number 2 spot outside of the front row. Over Ray Alfalla, he jumps up for the inside of 3 to the inside of 2. He'll be in the number 3 spot, and he'll try to challenge on the restart. The pace car ducks down to the way first time. The restart on the night. Green flag flies once again, and a good jump for the 05 out in front. Humpy looked to take an opportunity to jump to the inside. Not going to happen. He'll end up door-to-door with Alfalla in turn 2.
Yes, Cody Bias, a lightning start as we have actually quite a couple of cars wadded up, but it's about the middle of the field wadded up going into turn number 1. We have another caution out on the track. It looks like Patrick Crabtree and a couple of others are involved. Nicholas Johnson and a couple of others. So we're going to have to take a look at that one, as it doesn't even look like they got started out before they started reckoning.
Looked like a checkup on the restart, which you'll see everywhere, Tim. That's not exclusive to these shorter tracks. You'll see it next week, and you've seen it already at some of the bigger tracks, including Fontana, biggest track that we've been to outside of Daytona International Speedway. The 3 just got checked up going into the corner, and I think the 57, you know he's going to be aggressive, makes a dive to the inside. The lane's there, why not take it? And I don't think the 3 machine even knew there was an Ani on the outside, because there was just no room for Brandon Schmidt in the middle there. He breaks sideways. He did a good job of hanging on to it and avoiding getting really torn up. However, that 90 went up the racetrack. He tagged that 50 to Crabtree that Cam had mentioned, and a couple more cars that evolved right off of the restart. Second yellow already.
And you know what? We saw something like that happen about 3 lanes up when Cody Bias went down low on Brad Mahar to try to take that position. It almost looks like in this instance as well, the 90 and Nick Johnston thought, hey, that 3 car is going to be behind me by the time I dive into the corner. I'm going to try to dive in there. He makes the same dive that Brad Davies does in front of him. The only difference is that Brad Davies doesn't have a car on the inside of him, and that contact happens and the caution flag does fly. But we've seen it before here at Richmond. These guys trying to get everything they can on these restarts. We saw it with Cody Bias and Brad Mahar there going down into corner number 1, and we saw it with that move there, and I'm sure we're going to see it all night long.
And we look to see, as this track gets rubbered in over the course of the night, if a second lane, or maybe if a 1.5 lane, a little bit up off that yellow line, becomes a thing. We've seen at this track, guys are able to go on the defensive of the longer end of these stretches on the outside, be able to power coming off of the corner to stay in front of somebody on their inside. Not a whole lot of banking at the Richmond International Raceway, just 14 degrees of banking in the corners, 8 on the front stretch, 2 degrees down the back stretch as well, but it is enough for the guys to try to get back to the gas, center off, and a pull out in front. But you saw that move down to turn 1, Cam. That inside, wide open. We talked about this at Texas with that double dogleg, if you will, on the quad oval. When you go through those kinks on the front straightaway, the inside, wide open. When you come out of turn 4 here, you're riding that outside fence all the way down to turn 1. There's not enough really time on a straightaway to go to the inside and then go back up top to arc the corner. So that bottom lane is open. You're going to see guys all night long trying to sneak to the inside, but we did mention 3 and 4 very loose. So you'll see a lot of guys sliding, especially coming off of 4 when they're trying to peek to the left quarter panel of somebody. But that inside lane that we saw these guys go to, that's going to be open all night long. You better get used to it.
No, absolutely. And as the pace car comes across, he's going down that, just as you said, 2 degrees. This track, this Richmond International Raceway is actually a pretty fun track to plow around with, especially with the slow downforce package. I know it doesn't influence too much, it being only a 3/4 mile track, but you still pick up some speed here, and that is so very important with how you want to get these cars rolling. Is the lap cars are going to get the wave around, and Nick Ottinger is going to secure that number 5 car right behind that Ford Mustang pace car, and we're going to have the same front row that we did. But moving up, though, was Michael Conti on that last restart. He's going to be starting outside in the second row.
We'll see if it benefits him, because it puts him in that even-numbered position, so he goes to the outside as opposed to being in the P5 spot to the inside of row 3. We'll see how he works with it. The wave arounds go to the 32 of Ryan Borges, the 50 to Patrick Crabtree, the 8 of Adam Gilliland. They'll be 38th through 40th on the racetrack. 41st It's Thomas Davis, 1 lap down. Chris Overland now 3 laps down. Ryan Lowe still 14 laps down in the number 43 spot. The pace car down second time. Well, the race is still young. Lap 17. Regreen from Richmond International Raceway second time. We're back at it after 2 early yellow flags. Again, no issue for Nick Ottinger. Back in a routine to the race lead and in turn 2. Kenny Humpy doesn't get challenged for the number 2 spot, but side by side for third. Conti on the outside, flirting with that outside, trying to get clear. Looked like he almost had an advantage, but Ray Alfala now powers off the turn 4 and fronted by the stripe finish line.
Alfala had a small bobble coming off of corner number 2 that last time by, and it looked like Michael Conti was going to benefit from that, but Alfala with a strong lap there, going to put that 2 car back in position number 3. Michael Conti going to fall back to position number 4, and then it's side by side. Cody Bias coming to the front of the field, trying to bring Brad Mahar along with him. He's got Corey Vincent to the outside, and there's Alan Bowes in the number 21. This could be a big race for Alan Bowes if he can get up here in the top 5 and continue to contend with the 3 in front of him in the point standings. Keep a half eye on that 21 here this evening as your top 4 single file. Hooked up and hauling the mail off corner number 4.
Alan Bowes has been efficient so far this season. The RAR Chevette Toyota going to make the move on the outside to stay in front of Brad Mahar, and he swiftly swings to the inside. He's only led 16 laps so far this season, but he's got a win at Daytona International Speedway, 4th in the championship standings into tonight's race. He jumped in behind Bias, the 27. Not much of an issue getting around Corey Vincent, 10, plastered to the outside of the racetrack. So Bias now back up to P5, and Corey Vincent dropping to 6 with the challenge from Alan Bowes on the bottom of the racetrack. 21 sitting about half a car length back. The 10 needs to run down the back to get clear. He'll come up a couple of inches short, allows Bowes to go back to the bottom, continuing side by side, 1.5 seconds off the point for the number 6 position.
Yeah, this side-by-side racing, just as I say that, Alan Bowes does get that position. He secures 6th. It's one of those things where it can really slow you down. This inside line does seem to be working, but everyone just really reaching that car out. I think a lot of people are going to be, in the next couple of laps, trying to get this car wedged up to the top. I think as we'll see multiple lanes opening up, at least here today, or at least multiple variations of the same lane, as Nathan Wise is going possibly on the inside and actually causing a little bit of a backup between Brad Davies and Jake Sturgios. Jake and PJ Sturgios are running right alongside Josh Berry back in 15th position. And I think we're starting to see this back up a little bit here behind Dylan Duvall, that number 42 car, as they cross the start-finishing line. To go past lap 24 onto lap 25. We're starting to see a little bit of a buildup of cars here. I wouldn't be surprised the next couple of laps we see some more action back in this top 10, top 15 positions.
And there's a lot of guys within not a lot of space of each other. Single file for the most part, 14th on up, but you got 2 wide, 2 rows deep coming up behind him. You got that 46 on the outside of the racetrack. Dylan Rafferty started top 10 in P8. He's been serviced on a pit road tonight. Trying to get back going forwards to the inside. You got that 29 of Kevin King, and they have been really dead even for the last 2 laps around the racetrack. And again, it's because the outside, well, it's not an entire lane on its own, but it lets you stay there. Is what lets us go side by side for so long, and side by side for the race lead to the inside. Kenny Humpy, the 05 at Gottinger. He'll try to defend coming off of turn number 2. It is door to door and nose to nose down the back straightaway to turn number 3. Ray Alfala behind in 3rd. He wants a piece of the action also, but first time, 27 laps in, Kenny Humpy to the point.
These 3 drivers have won here before at the Richmond International Raceway. They know how to get to the front of the field, but at the end of the day, there's only going to be one winner at the end of 200 laps here. These 3 want to settle it amongst themselves, and they're pulling away a little bit from the rest of the field, though Conti, Bias, the 21, and the 10, they're still back there. Ray Alfala now taking a little peek at the 05 of Nick Ottinger for position number 2 as Humpy pulls a car length on the battle for position number 2, and talked about the 05 a little bit earlier. They were confident coming into this race. Confidence is half the battle. Wouldn't be surprised to see Nick Ottinger here maybe conserve a little bit, trying to get up to that first pit stop and letting the pit crew do a little bit of work on pit road.
You might ask, where has Kenny Humpy been so far in 2016? He's not having a bad season of performance. In fact, he is running top 10 in the championship standings, running right now in the number 8 spot in the points overall. But he has been a little bit quiet, I think is a fair word to say. And the 58 wants to make some noise. He's only led 21 laps so far, and He's out in front now, and he took about 27 laps to get there, but he's pulling away. We talked about, Cam, that pileup we were seeing for P5, or rather P15 on back, where you get guys stacked up. That's because one car in front might be by 100th of a second a lap, might be by 1/10 of a second per lap, is a little bit slower. Kenny Humpy didn't come roaring up to the back of the Gottinger. He sat there on him. He was patient, but once he got through, he's taken off. Now 4/10 in front already. Ray Alfala behind in third, who wasn't able to capitalize on the inside opening at 05, was able to jump it behind and shut the door before Ray was able to do anything. He knows if he wants to stay with Humpy and not let that 58 get away, he may have to do something sooner than later.
I was going to say, yeah, something sooner rather than later indeed. I mean, these cars are hitting about 150 miles an hour just before they start arching their way into the first corner at Richmond International here. But for the most part, though, I have to say, Kenny Humpy, he's doing a very good job. Nick Ottinger, I think he's realizing he's starting to cave under that pressure. Well, not necessarily caving under the pressure. I think his tires might be starting to give out. Ray Alfala's gotten through. That was obvious. Michael Conti, though, he might start to look inside. And Cody Bias, he is already hustling to look on the inside of that number 5 car going into corner number 1. But right now, Kenny Humpy seems to be the one who's wheeling and dealing right now with this kind of stint. As they're putting more and more laps on these tires, Evan, I have to say, you'll start to see whose setups are built for quick reaction, quick short runs, and long green flag runs. And right now, Kenny Humpy seems to be doing a fairly good job, though. He just got 1/10 of a second on Ray Alfala that last lap.
Well, and Tim, as you mentioned, these guys always try to get everything on the drop of the green flag in these races, restarts included, which makes it tough because you know, well, it is a short track. The numbers say you're going to get a green flag stretch at some point. You don't want a car that's slow on the restarts, but you don't want a car that gives it up on the end of a long green flag stretch. We talked about Nick Ottinger giving up the race lead to Kenny Humpy. The 58 got the inside. There's no doubt about that. The 05 didn't force the issue, and then he let Ray Alfala go. How he handles Michael Conti and Cody Bias is going to be really telling, because if that 5 and 27 can gang up on him, it's a relentless line of cars. Alan Bowes, Corey Vincent, in fact, those two going side by side for P6 behind him in turn number 1. If he falls those spots, he might have eaten up the tires a little bit trying to stay in front of Humpy in the opening lap. So if he could maintain in P3, then I think he just dropped back to take it easy. You don't want to go any further back in the field than you already are. He certainly let Ray Alfala go as a conservative son, but I wouldn't want to go any deeper in the field if you're the 05, because then you start to get the guys that are lined up. Look at the 5, the 27, the 21, and the 10. Those are 4 drivers within 0.6 of a second of each other right behind him.
And the 21 and the 10 were side by side for a few moments there. Alan Bowes retakes the position away from the 10 of Corey Vincent, but to the point of the 05 as the 5 of Conti looks underneath the 05 of Ottinger. I think he'll be able to hold in this pack here as Conti works underneath him. 27 of Cody Bias going to try to sneak up here. Ottinger, what a run off corner number 2. A little bit sideways, trying to maintain that position. Michael Conti trying to take it, and here comes Cody Bias. The 21 and the 10 are lined up underneath the 05. Looks like Ottinger's going to try to find a spot into line here. 27 going to try to look at the 5 as well to try to pick up another position. But I think if the 05 of Ottinger can hold here for the next 15 laps or so, get to that pit stop, get some new tires on it, that 05's got a good short run car. You just got to keep the leaders in touch and make sure they don't get out to too long of a distance in front of you. And look who's creeping into the picture. How about the 42 with Dylan Duval?
Started 10th up to 8th is that 42 Duval. He wants to be a part of this battle. You can tell the 05 has that sense of urgency. He let P2 go. He does not want to let these 4 spots go. He was right on the door of Cody Bias the last time around in 1 and 2. The Infinite Creative Solutions Chevrolet going to get clear off at turn 4. Next up in line, Alan Bowes to fight for a spot inside of the top 5. Bowes had a nose at the start finish on, and you'll see that 42, the 10 behind. They're all hoping the 21 can make the move, but that bobble at a turn 2 is going to open up the door, and back in line comes Nick Ottinger to the number 6 position, and Corey Vincent jumps out of line. He goes to the top on the 21, and he did that on purpose. Let's see how the outside works for him.
Well, let's see. Indeed, Michael Conti working, seems to be getting a very good bite coming off the corners. That seems to be allowing him to pull away from Cody Bias. Nick Ottinger looks like he's still having issues getting on the throttle. Alan Bowes giving a little bit of a bump to Nick Ottinger. Ooh, he's bumped him 2, 3, 4 times.
Wide.
Nick Ottinger, though, as they go 3 wide, he manages to keep it under control. Nick Ottinger, though, just as we saw at the end of the race last Sunday there, this is pretty close to call there. But Nick Ottinger, boy, what he had to do to wheel that car as cars went left and right.
Alan Bowes says, you got to get going, or that 10's coming around, and he bump and run. And in the opening 50 laps to put himself into the number 5 spot. Corey Vincent is able to take over P6. Duval takes over 7th as Nick Ottinger now falls to P8. After running in the opening 25 laps of this race in the number 1 spot. In the last 20, he has since fallen to P8 and runs 3.4 seconds behind Kenny Humpy, who was back in 2015 form. It looks like 1.6 in front of Ray Alfala, and that gap continues to grow every circuit around.
And Nick Ottinger's fallen back to a couple of teammates. He's got Matt Busa back there in the 34, who's pitching it in a couple of times in a couple of these corners late in this run. He looks underneath another one of the teammates. There's the 13 of Brad Mahar, the pride of Calais, Maine, on the outside of the number 34 of Matt Busa. They'll go side by side for position. So Ottinger has found a couple of friends back there where he runs in position number 8, as the two teammates will dance for position at number 9 behind the Ream 05 of Ottinger. Great run from Mahar off the corner, and he'll even try to take a look at Ottinger going down that back straightaway. Great run from the 13 off the corner.
These guys making sure that they keep that pressure up on the 05 for Nick Ottinger. You mentioned Busa up 2 spots to the top 10 position that he's in right now, but look 3 spots behind. 13th position, and following Jake Sturgis through is BJ Sturgis, who started in 36th position. I made a note of talking about the guys who have found success so far this season, not having the best average starting positions. Jake Sturgis with an average start of P20, Alan Bose with an average start of a P20 also. BJ Sturgis, not somebody that you would have expected to be that deep in the field, though. As an average starting position of P12, he has 1 pole position on the year, but he started in 36th back on row 18. He's over half of the way up to the front in 13th position at 57, getting valuable time early.
Absolutely, that IMAX car is working his way as they're crossing the start-finish line to start lap number 50 here, as his last lap was a 21.9. Kenny Humpy's lap was a 21.9, so he is running just as fast as the leaders. He's working his way. The car gets a little bit of a bobble. That number 57 is it's him and his brother Jake Sturgis, as they have been working their way through the field here. Nathan Wise is the car that is up ahead in 11th position here, and they seem to be slowly reeling their way in, and that's what you want to see. It's Nick Ottinger, though. He's actually pretty close to these Sturgis brothers, as he is, well, I was going to say he seems to be falling off the rear. It's the entry seems to be good. It's actually Nick Ottinger goes well wide. I think those tires, Evan, right now are just about glad on that number 5 car.
And he's been nursing it since lap 27, I think it was, when Kenny Humpy went to the front of the field. And since then, the 58 has led all the way through, so he's now led more laps than that 05 machine. Nick Ottinger looking for max points just as we say that, past quarter distance. Caution flag will wave. Problems for the second time tonight in turn number 2. A lot of smoke, a lot of guys scatter, and it looks like the issues come from the number 90 of Nicholas Johnson, who into turn number 1 had a little bit of assistance, and I did say that the inside lane was going to be wide open all night long. Denani take a really wide arc into the corner. The 47 of Chris Overland takes advantage, rides the yellow line down to turn number 1, and Denani comes down, cuts him off. They make contact. Nick Johnson goes around. The yellow flag's out.
And everybody is going to head down onto pit road to take this opportunity to get some tires and fuel in their race cars. And I'm sure Matt Holden breathing a sigh of relief on the top of the box for the 05 of Nick Ottinger as Kenny Humpy leads this field down onto pit road. We'll see who comes out on top and see if Nick Ottinger can gain any of that time that he lost on the racetrack back on pit road. The guys are in their boxes.
They're in for service. It is going to mean giving up 2.3 seconds of advantage for Kenny Humpy, but he is into pit stall number 2. Right side tires on, left side tires on as well. Going to be a race off of the pit lane. He'll come off into number 1 spot. Alfala off P2. Conti off 3rd. Bias in 4th. And Corey Vincent will pick up 1 spot. He'll jump up to 5th position and drop Alan DeBose to P6. Coming off of the pit lane, you did see the number 4 TimmyHill.com entry roll through the pit lane, come out that time by. Timmy Hill started this one in 37th position, was running in 25th at the moment of the yellow. He'll roll through the pit lane. That will give him the opportunity to pit if he so desires. at the 1 to go mark and to put himself back at the back. Timmy Hill, the Aftermath Motorsports Toyota, very accustomed to liking to hang out in the back until it gets down to the final 25% or so, and then come storming through, and that is what I would expect he is currently working on there. And outside of that, it was the long green flag stretch. Not everybody on pit road. A couple of guys staying out also, hoping for the wave by Chris Overland and the number 8 of Adam Gilliland.
Yeah, that number 4 car is hanging out right now. I almost wonder, might maybe come in just to start at the end of the line. I don't know. But either way, though, yeah, he will come in. That is exactly what he's going to do. I was going to say, if he was staying out, I wouldn't say that that's the smartest decision in the world. But you know what? I would say we had one caution that immediately led to another. You never know what could happen. But either way, as the cars are going to cycle their way around, the lap cars should be cycling their way around the pace car at least at some point soon. It'll be Kenny Humpy and Ray Alfalla, Michael Conti, Cody Bias, and Corey Vincent. Now, I have to say here, Ray Alfalla, he's moved his way up. He started in 5th. But Alan Bowes, what a good run from him. He's already up to 6th. And PJ Sturgio starting from 36th. He's worked his way up to 13th, Evan. So we've already seen quite a few big movers and shakers here. Let's see, once again, though, Nick Ottinger, he's going to have some new tires on that car.
And he looks to be fast in these first couple of laps. And he's a seasoned veteran, so we don't need to tell him, Tim, but he does have to balance the attack mode on this, because he'll have the inside row number 6. He'll be able to try to make something happen with this. But he has to make sure that he doesn't drive too angry to make up for the spots lost and then kill the tires again. He's going to have to strike a balance if they can't get that thing to be a little bit better on the long run.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens here on this run with the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Maybe they anticipated a couple of short runs and maybe burn your stuff up and see what you have, but they learned something there, I'm sure, with that long green flag run. What to do, what not to do, how hard to push. Have to see how hard Nick Ottinger pushes here and see if we do get another green flag run. We're going to return to racing on lap number 58. The 58 car going to lead us to green, and we'll see how long this run takes to see if we can get to the halfway point here and maybe change up a little more of that strategy coming towards the end of the race.
Past the quarter distance in tonight's Richmond 200, the pace car down and gone on the drop of a dime. Kenny Humpy, he'll take the green flag and back it away at Richmond International Raceway we go. Lap number 58. The 58 in front, first time. It's been the control car on the evening, and he'll leave Michael Conti and Ray Alfalla in a spirited battle for second, and squeaking by on the top for the number 2 spot is the Duke. Ray Alfalla. Conti will drop to 3rd, but the inside opens up at 4. They'll go side by side, but a yellow behind them.
Looking through, I can't see it per se. There's one car up in smoke. It looks like it might be Tyler Hill involved. Looking up forward, it seems to be between Alex Warren and Nicholas Johnson before they even got into corner number 4, and they collected another couple of cars as they were coming through. Some quite substantial damage between 4 or 5 cars as they were entering corner number 3.
Yeah, outside of the racetrack, second time tonight we've seen contact on the outside into the corner. You take a second look now on a RaceSpotTV replay. We saw it in turn 1 earlier. Now in turn number 3, the 82 maybe was thinking about going to the inside on the 4, braked a little bit earlier. The 90 machine was not paying attention, we don't know, but there was just a little bit of contact that it got Warren out of shape. He got down, clipped Timmy Hill. I believe that number 4 machine was able to hang on, but then you had that 82 of Warren sideways in front of the racetrack. The 90 as well, the 44, and a hard hit for Tyler Hill, as you had mentioned. The number 9 Toyota takes a pretty good lick. So another quickie yellow. Cautions breed cautions. We broke out of it early, got into green flag stretch, and now 2 more back to back.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Alex Warren is going to feel getting pile driven by his teammate, the number 9, Tyler Hill, trying to slow down for that yellow flag. And it just seems like Nick Johnston has a magnet on that number 90 car tonight. I think that's the 3rd caution he's had some sort of damage involved with throughout this evening. So we'll see if the 90 car can try to get it towards the front of the field and try to get out of a little bit of that mess in the middle of the pack. 2 weeks ago, he was in the top 5 at Texas, so we know he has a good race car. It's just a matter of trying to weed through all this traffic and bring this thing towards the front of the field.
We sit right now with 40 drivers on the lead lap. An update on some of the guys that have had some issues. Tyler Hill 1 lap down, just involved in that accident. Chris Overland has been working diligently to get back to the lead lap. He is still 2 laps down in the Menard Chevrolet, and then Ryan Lowe still back in 43rd position. In fact, I do think Ryan Lowe's night is going to come to a close. Still in the sim, again, but hasn't returned to the racetrack since the opening laps. Not sure if it's an extracurricular issue for him, but he is still rounding out the field in 43rd position. So we have 40 drivers on the lead lap at the moment, and that 2 machine, Ray Alfala, put on a wicked move cam at a turn 2 to get in front of Conti. And then the 5 went right back to the inside. It would have been a good fight until the yellow flag dropped again, but it's an interesting thing to note that in turns 3 and 4, it was interesting to see Conti go to the bottom on the 2, because that 5 towards the end of that the prior green flag run, if you will, where we went about 40 laps or so in green flag conditions, that 5 was moving up almost 2 to 3 lanes in 3 and 4, significantly higher than he was in 1 and 2. Alfala did that, but the 5 jumped all over him for it.
Well, absolutely. These cars being just working their way just a little different here. As I mean, it's going to be a good battle here. But I think I have to say though, we've had this is going to be our 4th restart, I believe. So Kenny Humpy, he's going to have at least we know now what Kenny Humpy is going to be doing. He immediately gunned it as soon as that pace car went to the pits. So it's going to be interesting to see if Kenny Humpy will do the exact same thing. It will be his field to command, and you just got to see who's jumpy, who's going to be right on the guns with that number 58, and we'll see exactly what can happen when that Peak Chevrolet gets it moving.
The restart procedure on the sim, as always, from when the pace car drops to the inside to the exit of the restart box. The control car on the inside of the front row can elect to start the race at any point in that window. If the green flag waves and the 58 is still going pace speed of 50 miles an hour, Ray Alfala can go ahead and take it. The 58, he jumped the gun the last time right away, and again, he'll go as soon as that pace car drops to the wayside. Kenny Humpy lurches out in front to a 3-car length advantage down in turn 1, and in the inside, P2, Conti drove it in hard, slid up a little bit. He will get second. Alfala third, Bias fourth. They fight for P5.
Almost took that gamble that Kenny Humpy was going to go on that restart, and Conti was absolutely on it to take that spot. Battle for 6, the 21 and the 10. Those guys have seen a lot of side-by-side racing so far this evening throughout 65 laps, and it looks like Corey Vincent might get the advantage. Bo's going to get the run off the corner. They're still going to be side-by-side heading into corner number 3. The 21 takes a little bit of a wider corner entry. The 10 going to have the advantage, but off the corner, the 21 going to pull even, give the spot to the 10th of the line, but the 21 continuing to fight back. The 34 of Matt Busa is there as well, and this happens just behind the 42 of Dylan Duval. He's had 2 spectacular restarts, the last 2 fires on the green flag, and the 42 car, the Infinite Creative Solutions number 42, coming to the front, crossover behind him, 21 to the inside.
Duval up 5 spots. Alan Bose trying to go up 5 as well. He started 11th, wants to get to P6, and he goes side by side with Corey Vincent down the backstretch to turn number 3. There's a good fight behind involving Sturgis, Barry Ottinger, and Furler just outside the top 10. We look to see these guys get it sorted out, and at the start-finish on the inside does have the advantage. Alan Bose going to be accredited with the P6 at the start-finish line, but can't get clear. That 10 not going to roll over and give this one up quite yet. Vincent might want to get in line, though, before Matt Busa gets to the inside. 34 digging. He won't have the momentum out of 4. Corey Vincent does fall, but he's able to hang on to 7th. Now we watch that battle behind these guys. The 88 of Josh Berry in 13th, doing battle with the Nexus 55 of Nick Furley.
As they come across the starts, actually they're going down the backstretch. One of those straighty bits. Yes, Nick Ottinger, though he's leading. Jake Sturgios, Nick Furler, Josh Berry, and Tyler D. Hudson. As we were saying, Taylor Hurst also getting involved. The Sturgis brothers getting a little mixed up. They've got 4 cars now separating the 2 of them. Jake's not doing that well on the outside line. He keeps tracking that car up in the corners. I'm almost wondering if right now Josh Berry might be looking to possibly take a 3 wide coming off the corner as that 55 car is just a little slower coming off of the exit of 4. So this battle right here for the top 10 is getting pretty interesting. Jake Sturgioso, he seems to be working his way down to the inside line. He should be more comfortable there. And right there on the inside, actually, PJ Sturgioso has managed to work his way around the traffic. He's gone around Taylor Hurst, and now he is working his way on the inside line. So right now, at least for now, that inside line seems to be paying off. But I'm sure there'll be a price to pay later when it comes to tire wear.
Josh Berry doing it on the outside and the inside. He was pressed up on the door of the 55 Nick Furler. 55 got sideways, out of shape. 88 took it, swung to the inside down the front straightaway. Again, the bottom lane wide open when you take that wide arc into turn number 1. But he had enough momentum down and in to get that Peak Chevrolet in front of the 41. So Jake Sturgis now back to the number 13 spot and moved Josh Berry up to 12th. Door to door for the number 2 spot. These guys are familiar with each other tonight. Michael Conti's got it. Ray Alfala wants it. And the Alfala Tech Ford on the inside was have the preferred position, if you will, coming off of turn 4. But that 5, the advantage by 3/4 of a car the first time around it. They stay glued side by side.
You want to talk about a champion. These drivers are champions, but Ray Alfala sat back behind the 5 for a couple laps, waited for that inside line to open, set up the pass, and right now side by side between him and the 5, and I'm sure he wanted to complete the pass a little bit sooner than he has. But that 5 car, Michael Conti, they've got something in that race car. I'm sure J-Lo and the rest of the crew have been working hard all week long to get this Peak number 5 towards the front of the field, and Conti getting in and driving this thing for all it's worth right now, battling for position number 2 with Ray Alfala. The two champs go side by side across the start-finish line and down into corner number 1. Lap number 76 being worked on the board. Conti trying to get that run to the corner, but Alfala will get the run off, give position number 2 to the Alfala Tech Ford for the time being. Conti shuffled back to 3rd.
Alfala's been hot this year. He gets that spot. Michael Conti warming up now in the 6th race on this 2016 calendar, but he's not enough to hang on to that fight. So he falls to 3rd. It cost them a little bit of time on Kenny Humpy. I was going to be looking back to see if Bias or Duval, who were single file, were going to start to catch up, because they went side by side for about 3-4 laps there. Didn't really lose them much time to 3rd on back. However, Cody Bias and that 42 now starting to close in within half a second of Michael Conti. If the 5 continues to slide a little bit, much like we saw Ottinger do a little bit earlier on, they might be able to jump on him. Speaking of the 05, your pole sitter restarted in 11th position on the fresh tires. He runs right now in 11th position, 3.7 seconds back. He's not going backwards, which is good news, Cam, but he's not going forwards either.
Well, I think everyone's just calming down after that massive battle that they just had there with all the Sturgis brothers and everyone else that was involved, though. But I have to say, something seems to have happened. The rear end of Dylan C. Jones is completely empty. It was at one point a 5 or 6 or 7 car pack here. Now it's Jake Sturgis, Tyler Hudson, Nick Furler, and Dylan C. Jones, and there is about 8 or 9, 10, 15, actually, it's more like 20 car lengths, almost the length of the front stretch between him and Taylor Hurst, with PJ Sturgis and Trey Edson, as well as Michael J. Johnson here. So you have to wonder, perhaps, if somebody got loose, somebody got a little bit wiggly there, as, it almost looked like PJ Sturgis was going to the inside of Taylor Hurst, but he'll think of it. But for PJ Sturgis, though, he was moving all the way up and up and up and up. Now he has absolutely stopped around top 15 all the way back now. Well, he's in 18th, but he's been hovering around this position, and everybody is still packed up right behind Taylor Hurst, going all the way back. And we have one car that's around in the background. The caution is out. It is the number 22 car of Brian Blackford.
Blackford was involved in some contact earlier tonight in turns 3 and 4. This time, he will be the caution flag. In turn number 2, we'll drop the yellow at lap number 81, and it's hard to confirm that they got into each other. We'll take a look at the replay. If they got awfully close, if they did it looks like just a nudge, maybe, to the right rear quarter panel by the 11 of Brad Davies, who got in there a little bit hot and heavy. Brian Blackford got sideways and really just wasn't able to hang on. The inside has been loose enough coming off of turn 2. You get a little bit of a push, and it doesn't help things out. Just a soft little spin. Nobody else involved. He gets the Wendell Scott Foundation to Ford, turn it back around and back going, but it does group us back up again with the yellow.
Let's see what Kenny Humpy can do here on this pit stop. Ray Alfala, Michael Conti, Cody Bias, and Dylan Duval, your top 5 as they head towards their pit boxes to get service on their race cars. Humpy clean into his box. Ottinger going to pull in right here in front of him, and they're going to go to work on those race cars, and we'll see who wins this race off pit road and see who's going to lead us back to green. Looks pretty solid so far for those guys up in front. Alfala down and away, and Alfala going to win this race off pit road, and Kenny Humpy's going to come out in position number 3. He's going to be surrounded by a couple of teammates, Evan. It's going to be the 27 in front of him and the 42 behind.
And out in front of them all, the number 2 of Ray Alfala came into the pits into P2. He blows him out of the water, and Hill will get a first crack at leading us to a green flag tonight. The number 2 machine of Ray Alfala in front at lap number 83. We'll take an opportunity, step away for a quick break back from Richmond International Raceway in just a moment. You're watching the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing on RaceSpotTV.
The 2016 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is all about change. New teams, new drivers, new tracks, even a new logo. And oh yeah, there's a brand new car. After 5 years of competition, we say goodbye to the Williams FW31 and we say hello to the McLaren MP430. But this isn't just a brand new car, it's a whole new ballgame. And with it, we bring new excitement, new strategies, new technology. For example, energy recovery and drag reduction systems. There's a new way of thinking about racing, and for all the drivers participating, it's back to the drawing board, wiping the slate clean in the ever-consuming pursuit of perfection. One little slip-up, one wrong move on track, one poor strategy call, and it's over. That's the difference between coming up short and becoming champion and being $10,000 richer to boot. So yeah, change is in the air, but we're going to start getting answers on the 27th of February as the 7th year of iRacing World Championship competition kicks off. And you won't miss a thing, with every single race live on iRacingLive, coverage brought to you by RaceSpotTV. So join us fortnightly from 1:30 p.m. GMT.
We're back live at the Richmond International Raceway. Ray Alfala with a move on the pit lane, 4 tires, gas and go like everybody else, but he jumps to take over the race lead. Cody Bias now finds himself in P2. And Kenny Humpy, your at-time race leader, back in the number 3 spot. Pace car down and away, green flag drops it back underway at Richmond. Ray Alfala way out in front by 5 car lengths. Bias, no challenge for P2. And side by side for the number 3 position, Kenny Humpy on the inside, almost clear. Duval gonna fight back though, as the 58 gets squirrely down the back.
Ray Alfala, a great start in that number 2 Ford. Cody Bias, though, he is hovering right behind Kenny Humpy. Not necessarily the start he wanted with Dylan Duval hovering around his outside, but he's got Alan Bowes and Michael Conti around him. Not much to worry about there with Corey Vincent looking alongside, but we are stacked 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, much longer than we normally are, as Jake Sturgios goes to the inside of the 41 car, and Josh Berry cuts the nose off of Nathan Wise at the exact same time, number 24 car, excuse me, but they will cross the start-finish line one more time here. These guys are staying too wide for a lot longer now. I almost wonder if these guys are expecting a couple more cautions here and are just trying to make the positions while they can. Strategies be darned.
And right here, you just wait for something to break out. 2 wide, 3 rows deep. It's the 41 of Sturgis, the 24 of Wise. Caution gonna fly. Not from that group, though. Behind them, problems, and it's big junk. In turns 3 and 4, they'll pile them into the entrance of the pit lane. They all got stacked up, and the odd man out of line was Timmy Hill, the number 4 car. Bottom of the racetrack, looked like he just tried, Tim, to get to that inside lane, and he got there was room, but he jumped in front of, I think, an unsuspecting Kevin King, the 29, got him in the left rear. Timmy Hill gets sideways, goes around, track gets blocked, and collects about 3-4 other cars.
Yeah, the 90 going to avoid this thing. The 11 of Brad Davies says the 93 of Byron Daly get into him from behind, and The 85 of Thomas Davis, the silent ninja, not so silent through that one, gets a couple of cars involved there, a little bit of a pinball as he runs through there, but the caution flag does fly. A couple of cars at the back of the field going to have a little more damage, and they will come down to get service here on lap number 90 as Byron Daly, Thomas Davis, Timmy Hill, Logan Clampett, among them Patrick Crabtree, among those down on pit road at the back getting service to their race cars.
So just a couple of laps shy across in the halfway point here in the Richmond 200, the 6th round on the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing, streaming live on iRacingLive, Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. We're happy that you're tuning in with us on this Tuesday evening. Evan Pasoko, Cam Walsh, Tim Terry topside with you in the RaceSpotTV broadcast tower. 9 laps now from the halfway point. Ray Alfalla started this race at 5th position, got to the race lead on the pit lane for the first time tonight. He went to the point, and since then has been able to retain just for a couple of laps. Really didn't get much of a challenge there, but the leaders here especially are getting such a jump. We talk about restart procedure, Cam, and sure, the inside of the front row, you're going to have an advantage everywhere, but I think here you have such an advantage because the entire field behind you, and you're cycling out of turn 4, and you get that go-ahead, and you can go whenever you want. A lot of the guys behind you are still in the center of the corner. They've still got those wheels turned, so you've seen now 3 times in a row. We didn't see it, I'll be honest, that much earlier. Nick Ottinger, the 05, he did a good job of getting out in front, but he was blowing him out by only 2 or 3 car lengths. We've seen Alfalla and before him Kenny Humpy almost find themselves 5-6 car lengths in front by the time they get to turn 1, which is good. You just have to hope that you don't show all your cards at lap number 93 and then have them catch on if you have a restart at 193.
Well, or alternatively, you don't want to necessarily use the respectful bumping room that you have early, as we'd seen a couple of bump and runs earlier on, and hopefully that doesn't bite you in the rear on 193 or 194 or wherever that might be, or maybe even 199. But either way, yeah, Ray Alfalla, he had a great start. I noticed that he was hovering much further back from the pace car, and that is just going to be very, very interesting thing to note. I think it helps him really get that jump on the pace car going towards the green flag line here. But yeah, well, he started off back. We'll see what he can do. He's got Cody Bias on the outside, and well, we've kind of reversed the roles here. Dylan Duvall is going to be on the inside, Kenny Humpy's going to be on the outside, and Michael Conti's still going to be falling behind. But well, it should be pretty interesting, Evan.
It will be indeed. The lights are back out, so we will go back at it to put 94 laps away. The restart still with 106 laps to go. If you think it's been an exciting opening 50% of this one, you just wait, because we're going to shuffle them up just twice as much with still plenty of time left in this 6th competition in 2016. And you do see that too. He hangs well back from the pace car into turn number 3. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the inside right there. Green light for Ray Alfalla. He's on the loud pedal and back underway. Lap number 95 at the start finished on. There's that large gap he grows. Cody Bias, 27, didn't get the jump that he wanted to. Here comes Dylan Duvall in a fight for second.
The teammate side by side with Cody Bias going to take the advantage, and now here comes Kenny Humpy to the outside. Kenny Humpy trying to get one more spot on his teammate, Dylan Duvall, on the inside, and don't look now. Here comes Alan Bowes rolling the top on the 5 of Michael Conti. Conti trying to hold on to that spot, but the 21 of Alan Bowes, he and the 10 have been swapping positions, swapping lanes all night long, and maybe the 21 starting to like that outside, at least on this restart. Trying to get up there on the 5, the 42, almost park center, gets a little bump from the 5, and it is on for position number 3 on back. Could we see 3 wide going down into corner number 1?
Corey Vincent thought about it and might have gone for it if the 5 machine had it come down and shut that door. Michael Conti wants to get going. The 42 a little bit slow in the 3, as you mentioned. He gave him a shot, got the 5 and the 42 loose, and then Conti slid up the hill. They both kind of bobbled off the turn. What that ends up with is Kenny Humpy in 3rd, Dylan Duvall in 4th, and Alan Bowes trying to get to the number 5 spot. He's got a nose at the start-finish on the outside. But the more and more rubber that gets put down on the racetrack starts to make that outside a valid line to be in. Almost clear that time to 3, but not quite enough is Bowes. But that outside is certainly coming in as a second option.
Well, absolutely. We're still seeing a lot of, this is a little bit of a different restart. We did see a ton of side-by-side racing at the last restart, but this one, I think, right now, everyone is just single file line. That's how it seemed to break off here. We've got a couple of people going on the inside. Matt Busso looking to get on the inside of Corey Vincent. Corey Vincent getting on the inside of Michael Conti, possibly off the edge of the 4. Is it going to work? No, it's not. They'll go past the start line to start lap number 100 here, and he'll keep his nose just on the inside of that number 5 car. You will have to give him racing room. Michael Conti will have to as they come along the backstretch right now, but Corey Vincent, he is working his way on the inside. That short track racing there, he's managed it over the last couple of laps. They just scraped doors just enough. Corey Vincent not giving up on the inside as they start lap number 101, Evan.
We crossed the halfway point. We'll keep an eye on the battles, but let's take a look through the field with your iRacing.com Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game and an official sim racing partner of NASCAR. Ray Alfalla out in front, 0.4 of a second to the 27 of Cody Bias, and Kenny Humpy, who looked like he was going to run away with this one, right just behind in third. Alan Bowes is fourth, up from 11th position. Dylan Duvall right now rounding out your top 5. Michael Conti just behind in 6th. He runs in front of 7th position Corey Vincent, 8th position Matt Bussa, with Josh Berry in 9th, and your pole sitter Nick Ottinger in P10.
Now, Dylan C. Joes, he started in 20th position. He's in 11th. Jake Sturgios, well, he started 13th. He's in 12th. Well, at least we're a little positive. Brad Mahar in 13th. Nathan Wise 14th. And Andrew Fayesh the 3rd. He is, he started in 25th. He's up to 15th. Not a bad day for him, but it could be better. And Nick Furler is in 16th. Michael J. Johnson in 17th. Taylor Hurst in 18th. Shane Doherty is in 19th. But all of those positions are basically contested between the two. They're in a large pack. PJ Sturgios, he started in 36th after that horrible qualifying session. He's now back in 20th.
T-Loff trying to roll the top up in the 57. He's back here in 21st position. Nearly got the 57 down the back straightaway. Behind them, Nick Johnston going to try to take the position away from Casey Tucker. That's the battle for 22nd right now. Ryan Borges behind them, battling with Brian Blackford 24th and 25th. Chris Overland 26th. Dylan Rafferty 27. Damon Burnett just barely making it into the field this evening on his qualifying time. He looks to the inside of Rafferty. That's the battle for 27th. Tyler Hudson struggling a little bit here this evening. He's in 29th, and Brandon Schmidt 30th.
31st right now, Patrick Crabtree. Kevin King in 32nd spot. And 33rd is Brad Davies. Logan Clampett started inside the top 10. He's got a very beat up number 44 Chevy back in 34th position. 35th right now, the United David Rattler, Adam Gilliland in 36th. 37th, Thomas Davis, Alex Warren, final driver on the lead lap at Corpipe Toyota in 38th. 1 lap down, P39, Timmy Hill. 2 laps down at 40th is Trey Edson. Byron Daly, 41st. Tyler Hill, 42nd. And Ryan Lowe, 43rd, are all behind the fence and out of this race. That's a look at your iRacing.com Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com and sign up today. If you're looking for a new iRacing membership, make sure to use the promo code PR-RaceSpotNASCAR. That's PR-RaceSpotNASCAR when created a new iRacing membership, and you can get a 3-month subscription for the price of one at just $5. We look back at the front of the field now with 109 laps completed this time off the final quarter in this lap, and it is going to be Ray Alfalla in front, but Cody Bias starting to close the door just a little bit. You see the 1 intertwined in that conversation. Edson, we just ran through him, 40th position, 2 laps down, not a factor, but that 2 in the 27, they're trying to get away from Kenny Humpy.
Now, they're trying as they come through. They're rolling it to get on. You're starting to see that dark line we were talking about as Kenny Humpy gives a nice little wiggle the rear end of that Chevrolet, stepping out as he was going down the backstretch. You're starting to see that dark line form as we close out lap number 110. Boy, Kenny Humpy's car, it is romping and rolling on the straights here, and Alan Bowes, I think, is going to capitalize on that. He was about 1/10 of a second faster that last time by, and he's only 4/10 back, so he should be catching up in the blink of an eye. As Dylan Duvall, Michael Conti, well, he had a very aggressive start with Corey Vincent, but they have just slowly trickled their way back since the restart. And it's just, it looks like right now, I think everyone's finally taking a breath. We've had enough yellows. I think they're saying here is actually, there's a little puff of smoke. Just as I was saying that, somebody has made a puff of smoke coming off, and I think Alex Warren's engine might have just let go.
He gets to the apron, he gets out of the way. There was smoke, and you immediately assume is somebody braking sideways, but it was the engine. So the core pipe Toyota core temps got a little bit too high, and he's going to lose the engine on that machine. He falls one lap down. He was running 37th at the moment, the last driver on the lead lap. They do have the ability, if they wish, to get that car serviced if it is indeed an engine problem. But that would basically take him out of competition. It looks like they're going to push that car behind the wall. So you get the damage on the car, you're riding around, you're trying to salvage, it blows up when your night goes from bad to worse. When it rains, it pours. So tough break for the number 82 of Alex Warren. He'll probably find himself in 39th or 40th by the time this night comes to a conclusion. This is interesting. Alfala Bias, I have been talking about how they want to get away from Kenny Humpy. It's in their best decision, Tim, to try to put as much time on that 58 as they can, because the 58 loves clean air. Got kicked back to third, and it got stuck there. Same thing that we saw with their Polson and Eganger. Good up front, got stuck in traffic, got stuck. He's still back in 11th position, by the way, if you're talking about that 05 Eganger. But in between them, Trey Edson, running 2 laps down, who had a 38th place car on the grid, is holding pace with your leaders.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that number 1 car, whether he had a penalty or whether he had to come down pit road, but he might have a little bit fresher tires with the 2 and the 27 and be able to hang with them, and almost got into the 27 as he rolled the center off really cleanly in that number 1 car. The 1 and the 27, former teammates at what was Cody Bias Racing last season, and the 1 and the 27, I'm sure they have a little bit of history together, so we'll see what transpires there. But the 1 trying to keep there, and possibly, if a caution does come out, try to get a wave around and get one of those laps back in the field. Now coming up on the silent ninja, Thomas Davis, to put Davis a lap down. The 2 and the 27 point towards the inside line, and they'll put the 85 in the rear view mirror. And the top 2, along with that number 1, trying to break away a little bit from that 58 of Kenny Humpy, as we've passed that halfway point, getting a little bit closer to what could possibly be another pit stop for a lot of these front runners.
You're not going to be able to go what was about 106 laps to go, I think, when we took the green flag once again on 1 tank of fuel. You're going to have to come down at least one more time, especially for tire service. And it could happen under the yellow flag, in which all of the competitive stops have taken place under so far tonight. We've yet to see green flag pit stops. That could happen. You start to get the number of cars to dwindle down just a little bit. You get guys to spread out, and who knows what can happen in the complexion of this race. But most definitely, when we stop counting up and we start counting down, it gets a little bit more serious. Just 80 going to be left on the board the next time around. A good battle deep in the pack. Sees a lot of single file cars coming off of turn 2. The 91 is Shane Doherty getting a little bit squirrely coming off the corner, but behind him, the Focus, the 47 of Chris Overland. A good fight right now with the Audi of Nicholas Johnson.
Well, yes, indeed, and I think everybody's tires are starting to wear off, and we're starting to see just exactly what is going on with people's cars. Michael Conti is under massive attack from Matt Busa. Matt Busa obviously having the rubber on his boots in that number 34 car for the number going for 6th position. Michael Conti's rear end is snapping out, and we do have racing all over the field, as we were said earlier, but right now it just seems that the tires are starting to wear off, and it's going to start getting real interesting real soon. Ray Alfala, as he comes coming down the back stretch, actually the front stretch, he'll clip off another lap. That's a 21.7, and Cody Bias is a 21.8, so we'll have to see exactly these lap times climbing off, but I think it's fair to say, Evan, Michael Conti, every single time this last 3, 4, 5 laps, Michael Conti has been staying on the high side, and Matt Boos has been staying on the very, very low side.
So I mentioned Shane Doherty a couple of laps ago. I was looking for the battle with Chris Overland. Saw the 91 get sideways. He about did it again that time at a 4. He went all the way down 4 lanes, nearly to the grass to hang on. Nick Furler in front of him was sideways also in the Nexus Chevrolet, and they'll go side by side for the number 19 position. Overland's been able to get in front of these guys, and he tries to get away. They were getting a little bit close for comfort, coming out of turn 4 a few times, and they gave each other a shot when they got back down to turn 1, and you see again the 91 good in, a little bit slow off, inside is open. PJ Sturgis, just as he did at the start of the night, gonna throw it to the inside. It's not gonna work though. 91 wins the battle off. It'll be a battle behind for now 21st.
If you're that 57 to PJ Sturgis, you have to be on pins and needles right now. running up front in this series when it comes to point standings and running right in the middle of the hornet's nest right now. Scored last time by in 20th, looking for position number 19 underneath the number 91, as the 22 and 90 just behind them, going side by side for position. And it's getting a little bit intense back here as we pass that halfway point, coming up on that 75 lap to go marker, just passing it that last time by 57. Continuing to take a look here underneath the 91, the 85 of Thomas Davis, the lap car coming up into the picture on this one as they continue to battle up in front. I believe the one car has fallen out of that picture near the front of the field, Evan, so the lap car giving way to these guys, letting them battle up in front for those lead positions.
And a lot of the time, they're going to try to get out of the way. They just can't do it. Look at this log jam inside the top 10. Good move on the inside. Matt Busa going to slide up in front of Michael Conti to take over what is going to be P6. The 10 going to take over the 5 from what was then P7. Not going to get clear, but Vincent did have the nose in front at the start-finish line. We'll see what Michael Conti can do on the outside. He's got his Antifreeze teammate just behind him in the 88 of Josh Berry, who's running at the best he's been all night long. Started 14th, fell back a little bit. Now with a net gain of 5 in the number 9 position. And in fact, he'll look to the inside. So it looks like we're starting to see Conti struggle on the long run. And we are seeing the rubber get put down. It's a dark and gloomy night at Richmond International Raceway, sure, but you can see that rubber getting put down. You're seeing the lane move up and up the hill, just not as high as Michael Conti was a couple of times that time through, especially. Went up about 1.5 lanes too much. The inside was open. Curious to see how that 5 car is going to react and handle. He lost 3 spots in the last 5 laps.
Well, sliding backwards lap after lap is that number 5 of Michael Conti. Dylan C. Jones is the one who's going to be coming up. It's 0.3 of a second between Dylan C. Jones and Michael Conti that was made up that last lap. Nick Ottinger, though, also to be looking at, as he has not been having the great night. He had a good first stint there, but now he's traveled all the way back to 11th position, 4.8 seconds off of the rear of the Ford of Ray Alfala. And Ray Alfala, for whatever it's worth there, he seems to be very good on restarts, and yet his lap times are staying very, very competitive through this entire run. He's running 22 flats. Perhaps that has something to do with the clear track that he has, but for the most part, though, Ray Alfala seems that his setup on his Ford is absolutely hooked up right now, Evan, and Cody Bias has got nothing as far as lap times to say about it.
Now, we've seen people get introduced to the clean air, and they just eat it up, and they love it. Obviously, early Nick Ottinger in control. You've seen Kenny Humphrey take a crack at it. Cody Bias has been there all night long, but Ray Alfala, again, he made the pass for what could be the race win at about 65 laps or so on the pit lane. Got to the front of the field, a couple of restarts, he didn't falter, and he does look very strong, 0.6 of a second in front of Cody Bias, and Bias is not necessarily starting to come back to Kenny Humphrey because he's not losing a lot of time on Alfala in front. The 58 picking it up a little bit, or rather just maintaining a little bit better on the long run. He's gotten to the back of that 27 Chevrolet. Gap was about 2 car lengths. It's only a half, maybe, this time into turn number 3. He's bringing friends with him. 21 of Alan Poe's there as well, so Cody Bias could be under attack here in a moment.
Yeah, this battle for second beginning to really heat up with his teammate behind him, the 21 of Alan Bowes, and if they continue to backtrack just the slightest little bit, 42 is going to be there, Dylan Duval, but he had a problem getting off of corner number 2 that last time by. Didn't get the launch that the 1 did right behind him, but nevertheless, the battle for second continues to intensify, and it looks like Ray Alfala is starting to slowly drive off into the sunset. But the one thing that we haven't seen, and I don't want to jinx it, we haven't seen around a green flag pit stops here this evening, and we're coming up close to that point where some guys may be throwing the hand out the window as the 21 takes a peek underneath the number 58 car as they go side by side for that position. So I think Cody Bias, Kenny Humphrey, they're learning how hard they can push right now to try to keep pace or catch up to Ray Alfala in car number 2. We might see a long green flag run to the finish, Evan, but I don't think we're done with cautions as the 58 goes to the inside of the 27.
Kenny Humpy started to feel the heat from the twin of Alan Bose. Said, all right, let's get going. Goes to the inside, no problem. The 58 takes over that number 2 spot. Cody Bias now back in third. Curious if the 27 is going to put up a fight with the number 21 machine, or if he decides to let him go. It looks like they're going to battle it out there for third. And in fact, that 21 is actually looking to get to the outside of the racetrack to see if he can get that top standing position. Problems for the 24 and Nathan Wise. His Chevrolet is going to be down at pit road with a little bit of damage and not out of shape, but he got it down in time. He may be on the short end of this call.
Oh, absolutely. Pit stops are kicking off. Ryan Borges, he had an awful pit stop. He ended up squealing the brakes and skidding into a stall. He was cocked at about a 45-degree angle. He had to get his work as multiple cars right now are coming down pit road, as I think green flag stops are officially underway as Damon Burnett is coming in, Michael J. Johnson coming in. None of the big names that are at least running up front today are taking biting the bullet, but you never know who's going to come in, as I have a feeling I think Michael Conti is going to be coming in just next time by. I think he's going to be relieved, as yes, that number 5 Peak Antifreeze Chevrolet will be coming down pit lane. He's going to be relieved to get some new boots on that car.
And unfortunately for these guys, they don't have a crystal ball to look into. You're going to have to find the sweet spot in this swing of service, because it does look like for the first time tonight we've hit the green flag surface, but you do have to always note that when you come down pit road, you're going to lose a lap. We always talk about the short pit, mixing it up, trying to do something. I love the short pit. Problem is, you're going to be a couple of laps down, if not just one lap down, for a good amount of time until everybody cycles through. For the most part, a yellow would trap you down, and statistically speaking, you have a higher chance of seeing the yellow during the cycle of green flag pit stops, especially at the short track, because you're going to have guys 2 seconds faster per lap catching up on people battling for position. It's very easy for somebody to make a simple mistake. So if you're Ray Alfala, if you're Kenny Humpy, you're seeing guys trickle down. The question now becomes, how long do you wait? 56 laps going to be left on the board this time at a turn 4.
34 to pit road. Matt Busa going to surrender 6 to come on to pit road, and that's the big question. We talked off the top of the show that in a perfect scenario, 3-stop strategy, if it goes, it falls away, it's 50 lap runs. We're looking at 145 right now. There's 5 laps to that 50 lap mark, as Alan Bose is going to peel off and come down to pit road, and Cody Bias and Josh Berry going to follow in behind him. If they do get to 50 laps to go, that would be the perfect stint. Some of these drivers, it looks like Evan going to go 55 if this thing goes green to the end, and that's a big if.
I think Kenny Humpy missed the pit road entry. I thought he had gotten sideways at a turn 4. He was side by side with Ray Alfala. I think he tried to get him per se and ducked down in a side-by-side fight. He missed it, and he locked it up, completely overdrove the pit lane. He's able to get it in this time. So Kenny Humpy is down for service. You're taking a second look at the problems he had the last time in turn 4. This would lead me to believe that Ray Alfala is going to be coming in response. And yes, sir, the 2 coming in, locking it up. And look out, the barrels at the end of the pit road wall aren't going to feel good. He keeps it off him, but you could tell that Ray Alfala was digging in, trying to get whatever time he could.
Absolutely, that number 2 car was absolutely on it as he was coming in, though. I think new tires are starting to really come into the play here, as that is really forcing everyone to come in. Jake Sturgios is coming in. He's going to get his service and go out, as we as I have to say, though, we had a couple of scary moments there with cars that are coming out of pit lane on their cold tires. They're expecting them to instantly start gripping, but these things got to warm up here, as it was just Nathan Wise had a very frightening trip as he almost lost it and going around Adam Gilliland, but he managed to save it. His car was cocked at a 45-degree angle, but he managed to make it work. And what I think we're seeing right now is Ray Alfala is working his way through traffic that is trying to get down and into the pit lane and trying to get to the high wall and letting him through. So it's pretty interesting here. Michael Conti, though, absolutely being held up right now. Nicholas Johnson, not much he can do. Nicholas Johnson, I think he's just trying to get onto the inside line now, but he's got so much traffic, so many cars coming through, he just can't.
And you look right now, 11 drivers on the lead lap. Chris Overland in front of the field. He comes down to the pit lane, and these guys are going to come back up at 47. Again, one of these guys who's locking him up and slotting those tires coming into the pit lane. You're not going to pull down to the apron into turn 3. That's the best way to approach it, but it's going to lose you tons of time. These guys are definitely being creative and aggressive. So the guy in front of the people that have completed service, your highest running driver who has the tires and the fuel, we would assume, if you're going to go for these next 50 laps to the end, is Matt Busa, and he was one of the first drivers in. Alan Bowes, Kenny Humpy behind, side by side for right now what is going to be P12, but will eventually become the race lead, and the 21 on the outside wants to fight back. Ray Alfala, 3 additional spots behind this, and what is right now P12, you see the 2 catching up now.
Your leader of this race is David Rattler right now, though. Rattler, Tyler Hudson, Patrick Crabtree have yet to come down pit road. You had Logan Clampett, King, Schmidt, T-Loff, Adam Gilliland to that list. Top 8 have yet to come down pit road. We've seen David Rattler before play some pit strategy, and it come out to a top 5 run in that 09 car. So we'll see what happens here with David Rattler and the rest of these guys who have stayed out on the racetrack. Hudson and Crabtree are nose to tail right now. That is a battle on the racetrack for position number 2 as they come off of corner number 2 down the back straightaway 15 to the inside of the 01. Got the 28 back there. I believe he's on a little bit of fresher tires as he sees the guys battle for P2 in front of him. Going to go to the inside, pardon me, coming through.
Kyle Hudson, 2013 champion, one of the guys that has yet to come down to the pit lane and still needs to be in for service. And you can see by the way that race car looks, and you can also tell by the way the 15 in front of him looks. Patrick Crabtree, who's running P2 right now. Again, both these guys still behind David Rattler. It's been a rough night for them. And speaking of rough night, you see the 57 of BJ Sturgis go by, trying to get back to the lead lap the old-fashioned way. He is a lead lap car, but he's been running around P20 for the better half of the race, and we talked all pre-race about his numbers. Hasn't had a finish so far outside the top 5. This is going to cost him a little bit. It's going to be his worst finish so far on the year. There is a drop week, so it's not going to take him out of it, but the way Ray Alfala is running right now, the 57, a cause for concern. If they were to finish where they run right now, it would be the 3rd consecutive week that those 2 drivers will exchange positions for P1 and P2 in the championship standings. But look at the thick traffic that these guys have to get through. They're chasing down the 58 of Kenny Humpy, who's been able to get around Alan Bowes and Matt Busa, and now you see that 2 of Ray Alfala coming through also. This will become the battle for the race win, but right now it's a battle outside the top 10, and they're splitting and going high and going low on lap cars, and it's keeping it interesting.
Keeping it very interesting here. Kenny Humpy, though, he is just running a 21.4, whereas Alan Bowes behind a 21.5, and Matt Busa 21.6, as well as Ray Alfala running a 21.6. So everyone just running slightly slower than Kenny Humpy, but that's mostly because they're racing against each other. As Ray Alfala goes to the inside, Matt Busa lets that one go, and as he'll get locked in, you're starting to see that dark line getting colored in there in the cloudy skies here of Richmond International Raceway. You're seeing that stripe all the way on the bottom, and also you can see these cars, I think they're starting to lean out a little bit more just because they can get a little bit more bite. They'll find how to work this with these new tires as they will go around Thomas Davis. It was in the 35th position, missing his entire front clip on that car, but for the most part, though, as this battle does turn into the lead lap battle, looking back, Michael Conti is all over the rear end of Dylan Duval.
That is a good fight amongst those guys that came at a pit road all together. The 42 in front of Conti at the moment in 14th and 15th position. And soon we're not even going to have to wait for Rattler, Crabtree, Hudson, Clampett, and King. Laughlin also to come down to the pit lane, because you see Kenny Humpy, the 58 machine, well, he's catching up right now to Teeloff, the 51 Monster Energy entry. And that means that they have completed service, gotten back out there. They still have to come back down to pit road. That tells you just how good the tires are. But I'm impressed that in all of this, it appears that Alan Bowes has been able to find himself in second.
But if you look through all of this and all this mess that's happening around Ray Alfala, Kevin King, those guys that are going 3 wide behind them, if a caution were to come out, if somebody were to slip, it pays off for Rattler, Crabtree, Hudson, Logan Clampett, and even a guy like T-Loff or Kevin King, who's up in the top 10, which was a lot further up from where they were running before. 3 wide, 10:51.29. It's all for position, and here goes the 34, going to rim ride on the outside line. Oh boy, this thing is getting intense around mid-pack. 42.27 to the inside of their teammate. Timmy Hill is here as well. Barry storming the corner on the 5 of Michael Conti. This is a bomb waiting to go off.
It was 3 wide, a little bit of 4 wide for a moment. That 34 of Matt Busa looking like the 24 from over the weekend in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series to make it work as he tries to not lose touch of Corey Vincent, but it is not going to settle down at all because now not only do you have the lapped cars, you are now catching the drivers up front for position. Battle for P2 in turn number 3. Kenny Humpy trying to complete the march to the front of the field. He takes P2 away from Patrick Crabtree.
Yeah, no problem there at all. Patrick Crabtree ran a 22.6, Kenny Humpy at 21.5, so really almost a 1 second gap just like that between Patrick Crabtree as everyone seems to be going along on the inside here, which makes it very difficult to enter pit lane. He's got a gap right now, Patrick. I might bring that car in. It's lap 166 unless he plans on just letting that car ride out there. Don't necessarily think that is the plan. But as the rest of the field is catching up, and the like, Dylan Duval is still getting covered by Josh Berry for positions 9 and 10. Dylan Duval, he has been dealing with a massive amount of pressure here today, Evan. That 42 car has been in the wars, and he is handling it with ease.
He is, and he's in a good fight. A lot of these guys have been fighting not only since they got off the pit lane nonstop, but a lot of these names, we keep talking about them, A, because they're up front, but B, they're always in some sort of a battle. Nobody has been able to just kind of hang out all night. We haven't seen somebody get a second to the good on the guy behind him and sit a second behind somebody and just kind of zone out and do their own thing. They have constantly been struggling for positions against each other. Kenny Humpy, most importantly, has completed his march to the front of the field. Got around David Rattler. Alan Bowes going to get by the 09. The 2 of Ray Alfala also. So Bowes to P2. Alfala up to the number 3 spot. And now you're as high as you can get. We'll see Busa, we'll see Bias, we'll see Duval and the rest of the names pick up those last couple of spots that they need to do, but it's going to be 30 laps to go the next time by, and Kenny Humpy has found himself in a perfect position, 9/10 of a second in front, which is 30 laps remaining. He's got to hang on.
So if this thing goes gritting the rest of the way, we've seen Ray Alfala at the start of this green flag run very strong prior to green flag pit stops, but now he's behind Alan Bowes, so he has to get by the number 21 and track down Kenny Humpy, who is a second ahead of this thing. On that last run towards green flag pit stops, we saw Humpy be consistent, not as fast as Ray Alfala, but at least consistent, keeping him within distance. I'd have to believe right now this might be Kenny Humpy's race to lose, as long as a caution doesn't come out or something doesn't happen that keeps Alan Bowes, Ray Alfala, and those guys behind. And oh, by the way, the 21 and the 2, they lapped the 8 of Adam Gilliland, and the 3 behind them of Brandon Schmidt. Brand new stickers on that race car, so he's going to probably try to get by here and try to get one of those laps back if he can catch Kenny Humpy.
It's such a fluid situation because we saw Ray Alfala come into the pit lane the lap after we saw Kenny Humpy come down. And it was interesting because the 58, if you remember, messed up the entry to the pit lane, and it looked like it cost him tons of time. But you talk about 2 seconds per lap to fall off from fresh to new tires. Well, Kenny Humpy was able to get out in front. So that's why you're seeing the guys who pitted before got out in front. We saw Duval jump up. He was in front of all of these guys until Humpy, Bowes, Alfala company, they caught up to him. But that means that the guys that pitted later and therefore were running a little bit deeper in this pack of cars are a little bit faster. Close call with the 32 and the 1. Humpy going to swing to the inside. So by those numbers, Bowes, Alfala, their Goodyear tires, just a little bit better than those that are on Kenny Humpy. It doesn't look like, though, they're gaining. In fact, Alan Bowes, Alfala, they both lost a 1/10 of a second last time behind the Peak Chevy, trying to stretch it out.
Now, we'll see what they can do. Ray Alfala last time by a 21.7, whereas Kenny Humpy's last lap was a 21.7, so they're trading laps. Either way, though, Kenny Humpy, he seems to have good control of the field. He's going to have a continuous stream of lapped cars ahead to continue to put laps down and get in the way of Ray Alfala and the rest of the field here as... Ray Alfala's in third. He is chasing down Alan Bowes. He's looking down to the inside of Alan Bowes in that number 21 car, but that's just not working out as they are working their way through into 3 and 4 right now. Everything seems to be a little spaced out with this green flag running, but looking back, they're 3 wide between Andrew Fash Jr., Jay Sturgis, and Taylor Hurst. They went 3 wide. As Andrew Fash, he had to end up going all the way around the outside. And Taylor Hurst, he's gone all the way from the outside all the way to the inside. By the time they get to the start-finish line, they are still 3 wide as they enter corner number 1. And there is a little bit of contact. Andrew Fash and Jake Sturgis, and they are still going at it hard with the lap car in the way.
Oh, he turned him. Hard into the inside wall goes Taylor Hurst. He bounces right back up, and somehow, no caution, we stay green. They were acting like they were on the bowling alley with the bumpers up. These guys, the 41, up into the 77, darted right back down 3 wide, and the 77 tried to force the 4 wide. It didn't work. He sent Taylor Hurst and the 41 of Jake Sturgis hard into the inside wall. You take a look at the replay, and I guess they never went all the way around on the racing surface. In fact, they both bounced back to the right direction, so no caution flag will be triggered. Taylor Hurst going to see a strong result go down the drain as he limps down pit side, and we're at 20 laps to go with no yellow.
And the subsequent lap, you almost saw an incident with the 22 and the 24. The 22 trying to use Taylor Hurst as a pick on the 24 of Nathan Wise, and that was almost big afterwards. But we stay green, and as we stay green, Kenny Humpy's about to come into some lap traffic. He just passed the 29 of Kevin King. He and Brad Davies now going side by side behind your leader. Here's the 01 of Tyler Hudson. Something you don't usually see is Tyler Hudson going a lap down under green. The 58 of Kenny Humpy to the inside of the former champion. And now the 4 of Timmy Hill, the 44 of Logan Clampett, just ahead of your leader, Kenny Humpy. And it looks like, at least at this point, Kenny Humpy is managing the traffic fairly well, and he's continuing to build just a little bit on that gap. Alan Bowes shaved off a little bit of time, but as Kenny Humpy passes these lap cars are going at it for what could very well be the free pass award if a caution flag comes out.
And a battle for P2 goes on. Kenny Humpy has the advantage because he has some time now. 1.5 seconds and now 1.7 seconds to Alan Bowes. If he finds himself in a bad spot, 2 cars up in front going side by side or battling, he can back it off just a little bit. You don't want to take that time for credit because something could happen. You want to hold the distance you can, but he does have that in his back pocket as an option. For Alan Bowes and Ray Alfala battling for the number 2 spot, they can't check up when they catch lap traffic, or it's going to throw their only opportunity out the window. And we saw that a couple of laps ago. Alfala got to the 2 to make a move, just about turned himself into the fence after he made a swinging move to the outside out of 4, broke sideways. We know that that part of the racetrack has been really, really loose all night long. So the 2 tries to fumble his way back up to the fight for the number 2 spot. Alan Bowes and Ray Alfala, though, both really falling off at the pace of Kenny Humpy, who's 2.5 in front.
No, it's not even that they're falling off the pace. I think the lap times aren't the problem. It's the traffic. These guys are fighting tooth and nail all the way around them here, and it is causing a ton of issues as you have active battles between cars. I mean, you've got, for position 28, you've got Tyler Hudson and Kevin King, and right in front of them, you've got Cody Bias and Josh Berry fighting for 7th position with Timmy Hill. Well, he's rolling around the outside zones of all. So you've got both lines of traffic between the 30s and up and the top 10 and up, and they're all fighting for the same spots on road, the same positions, and just in different sections of the race. So it's interesting to see as they are trying to do it. You can't just let everyone go past or you're going to lose a boatload of positions, but it creates a pretty tough environment, to say the very least. And Kenny Humpy, though, he is the one who is capitalizing on all of this. He's a car by himself, and for the most part, though, Kenny Humpy, no problem at all whatsoever. And Alan Bowes and Ray Alfala, they haven't even cleared the lap traffic that's ahead of them. That's still 4 cars separating them between the leader and 2nd and 3rd.
The next time under the flag stand going to be just 10 laps to go for the number 58 of Kenny Humpy. And if you accept the notion that he's too far in front for Bowes and Alfala to catch without the assistance of a yellow, who has the advantage in this battle for P2. Alfala got loose, caught back up, but hasn't been able to do anything with it. The 21-2, well, they are losing time, and they definitely do want to get to Kenny Humpy. I think at this point, no need to not fight with each other because you're not catching up to the 58. They're going to go at each other.
I think the biggest surprise right now, at least in this last half of this race, was the two of Ray Alfala not being able to make up that time and get up to Kenny Humpy, especially after being so good on pit road throughout this event. All is not lost, though. He's looking at position number 2 on Alan Bowes, albeit it is 3 seconds behind Kenny Humpy, and I think they're going to have a couple more pieces of lap traffic here that they will contend with. The 11 of Brad Davies just ahead of this battle for position number 2. They got to hit their marks these last few corners. It looks like Alan Bowes just went up the racetrack a little bit, at least opened the door for Ray Alfala. Going down into corner number 3, slams it down into corner number 1, and Ray Alfala, he's either going to have to find an opening or maybe create an opening to try to get position number 2 in these late laps. Kenny Humpy continues to drive off into the sunset. He's got a couple lap cars now behind him. He just passed the 09 and the 24.
Bowes left the door open. Alfala got a nose, wasn't able to really dig up and get there, but if there isn't an opening, he can make an opening. It is Richmond. We did talk a little bit in the pre-race about you can get a little bit more physical at these tracks than some other ones, and we even did see some of the bump and run action earlier. In fact, inside of the opening 50 laps, we saw some of that going on up at the front of the field. But it is right because Ray Alfala took over the race lead on the pit lane, albeit under the yellow flag conditions. It was very strong. Kenny Humpy looks like he throws the race away, makes a mistake on the entry, but just executes overall on his recovery better on the only cycle of green flag pit stops we saw on the night. And he did not look back since then. Over 3 seconds in front and inside the final 5 laps, the caution flag would do it.
Now, indeed, he has been running a very good race, Kenny Humpy. Of course, it figures the 1 week where we didn't have time for me to call out who would win. I didn't even pick him to win, so I would have thought maybe Michael Conti would have had it, so I've doomed Michael Conti to a top 10 finish. Well, he's actually an 11, so he didn't even get that. But either way, though, Kenny Humpy, what a great run from that number 58 car. He has been doing exactly what he needs to do. He's got a 3-second lead, and on a 3/4 mile track, that is an absolute astronomical amount with just a couple of laps to go, Evan.
This time by, 3 laps to go for Kenny Humpy. The battle for P2 rages on. Just half a car length between Alan Bowes and Ray Alfala. Bowes started 11th in this one. Alfala started P5. Alfala had an opportunity to run up at the front of the field. Alan Bowes right now P2, the highest we've seen him, Tim, all night long.
Yeah, Ray Alfala's got to get up on the wheel these last couple of laps, and Alan Bowes has to be clean, spotless, hit your marks these last 2 laps of this race. It doesn't look like they're going to catch Brad Davies, and I'm sure the veteran that he is, if they do catch him, Evan, he'll probably roll over here and let these guys battle for position number 2. Great run off of corner number 2 for Alfala, but cannot get to the back bumper of Alan Bowes. Kenny Humpy going to come out of corner number 4. White silk in the air for the peak 58.
199 down, just 1 lap to go for Kenny Humpy. Some lap traffic in front, not going to be that big of a factor. We talked into this race, Kenny Humpy having a decent season, but he wasn't making a lot of noise. How about this one? He comes in late, takes over, and dominates through to the end of this one. Going to be career checkered flag number 8. Humpy wins at Richmond.
An outstanding finish from Kenny Humpy, and Alan Bowes will get the position over Ray Alfala. That'll be 1, 2, and 3. Everyone else streaming across the line. Some very, very close action. I'm seeing 3 cars within 1 second for 6th, 7th, and 8th, but as the cars are all slowing down and making their way down pit lane, that number 58 Peak Antifreeze car for the first time this year is going to be lighting him up, I have to say, as he crosses the start-finish line here at Richmond.
First time at Victory Lane in 2016, his 8th time in his NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series career, and those numbers padded very much in part due to his excellent performance in 2015, and he breaks through tonight and gets the W as he looks trying to get back on track for defending his championship, and he'll burn the Peak Antifreeze Chevrolet down on the front straightaway. Winner tonight, and you want to talk about highway robbery. Kenny Humpy was there, started on the outside of the front row, and somehow, after it looked like he made a mistake that cost him the race, is able to pull it out of the bag once again and win. And Ray Alfala comes home 2 steps down the ladder third, and Alan Bowes in P2. Let's take a look at your PK Antifreeze full race results for round number 6 as the Richmond 200 draws to a finish. So Kenny Oppie, the 58, first win on the season, going to help him as he entered tonight in the number 8 spot in the championship standings. Alan Bowes, a great result, P2. Ray Alfala, he'll become your championship leader out of Richmond International Raceway, his 5th now top 5 on the year, coming home P3. Corey Vincent with a great result in 4th. Matt Busa slotted in for a P5 tonight. Dylan Duval, the 42, comes home P6. Cody Bias in 7th. Josh Berry behind at 8th. Your Polster Nick Ottinger, who very quickly became a non-factor, still gets a good result, walks away with the top 10 in 9th position, and Chris Overland just behind can round out your top 10.
Michael Conti is going to be finishing in 11th after starting in 3rd, just 13 seconds behind the leader. Andrew Fayesh, once again, bad qualifying, good finish. He started 25th, ended up in 12th. Brad Mahar finishing in 13th. PJ Sturgio, so what could have been. He started in 36th position, ended up in 14th. Shane Doherty in 15th. Nicholas Johnston in 16th. Nick Furler in 17th. Damon Burnett in 18th. Michael J. Johnson in 19th. And Brian Blackford finishing out the lead lap cars in 20th position.
Your first driver 1 lap down was Nathan Wise this evening. The 24 finishes in 21st. Brad Davies finishes 22nd. David Rattler tried that pit strategy one more time. Did not get the caution that he needed. Winds up 23rd. Ryan Borges 24th. T-Loff in 25th. Patrick Crabtree 26th. Logan Clamp at 27th. Kevin King, last driver 1 lap down in 28th. Brandon Schmidt 2 laps down. Dylan Jones and Evan, it looked so good for that 03. Looked like it was going to be a top 10 run this evening. Finishes 30th, 2 laps down.
A tough night for the guy behind him. 31st position for Timmy Hill. Got beat up a couple of times. Thomas Davis will settle for 32nd. All these drivers 2 laps down. Casey Tucker 33rd. And Tyler Hudson ends up in 34th. 3 laps down for Trey Edson, 35th. And 36th position Adam Gilliland. The rest of these guys going to come home behind the fence. 37th Taylor Hurst. Jake Sturgis P38. P30 for Alex Warren. Dylan Rafferty in 40th. And then Byron Daly, Timmy Hill, and Ryan Lowe. Problems well earlier on into the evening will be 41, 42, and 43. They'll round out your full field rundown from Richmond International Raceway. We'll take this opportunity to step away just one final time, and when we come back, it'll be the RaceSpotTV post-race show. We'll talk with your top finishers, get you set for NASCAR race night next Tuesday, and then for the 7th round of this championship coming up 2 weeks' time, Tuesday, on the 10th of May from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You're watching RaceSpotTV's continuing coverage of the 2016 NASCAR PK Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Back in a moment.
outside, contact made. 56 slides it out of 4. Who's going to be into the stripe? Did even give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
We're back live at the Richmond International Raceway for the RaceSpotTV post-race show as the Richmond 200, the 6th round on the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing schedule has drawn to a close, and Kenny Humpy going to get his first win on the season after a wild final run to the checkered flag, including the one and only time green flag pit stops were a factor tonight. The 58 best of the field to finish in front of Alan Bose, Ray Alfala, Corey Vincent, and Matt Busa inside of the top 5. We'll catch up with all of them in just a moment, but right now, down in victory lane with Kenny Humpy, 8th career trip to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series victory lane. Kenny, congratulations to you. We know that the car was, it had the speed, started up front, outside of the front row, P2, but walk us through that final stretch to the end of this one. You and Ray were side by side when the pit stops began, and you end up 3 seconds in front when it's all said and done. How'd you execute it?
Yeah, I had a great last pit stop there, and I had a great car. I got to thank Cody Bias and Jared Crawford and the whole team that worked on it, all week, getting it ready. And it was a fast car, and that's pretty much what the difference was. I've been overdriving the car the first few runs there, and that last run I finally backed my corners up enough to where I could save enough tires, and we were able to just pull away there once we got those pit stops done, and we were able to weave our way through all the traffic with the people on different strategies and stuff. And luckily this week the caution didn't bite us, and we were able to bring home a win. And like I said, I can't be any more proud for Peak and everybody that supports me and the team and everybody to get a win, and for all those guys.
There was almost one there inside of those final 30. It stays green to the end. You get the job done. You talk about backing up the corners and just keeping that race car underneath you. We talked about that a lot tonight. We saw a couple of guys really good, especially early when we saw a lot more yellow flags. Guys were able to do a lot, but once we started to see a couple of green flag runs, and coincidentally enough, especially for you guys, because I think that car was really good on the long run of things, we get the longest green flag stretch at the end of the race. How important was that to have a car that was better on the long run? We saw people really fast out of the gate, but they died out, and I guess the way that this one ended up falling worked in your favor there at the very end.
Yeah, I think this race especially, you never know which way it's going to go. You could have a short run car and it pay off for you because all the cautions there towards the end that sometimes happen. And then, like tonight, we got kind of lucky with a long run car that lasted the whole way. And, we had to deal with that weather that was totally different from what we had been testing in. So, we hit the adjustments. Cody Bias did a great job on it, like I said, and we were able to pull away with the win. But like I said, it's kind of luck, if you want the long run car or, which one ever comes out in front. But tonight, we got lucky and the race went green to the end and able to get a win.
Talking about how 2016 has been so far for you guys. 8th in the championship into tonight, going to be your 3rd top 5 on the year. Obviously a good start and a good finish for you guys, going to help out the stats. What does it mean for you guys, though, going forward with now 10 races left in this season to break into victory lane as far as getting some momentum and really starting to put it to these guys and start knocking off some spots?
Yeah, we've been running really good these past few weeks, and I haven't been able to put a whole race together. I thought I had a pretty good shot at Phoenix, but pit strategy there kind of lost out on it. But we've been top 5 pretty much, every week. I feel like that we've had a good car. Just the luck kind of hasn't fallen our way, but to get a win like tonight and, maybe get that momentum rolling, maybe we can kind of make a race to this championship. I know PJ's kind of got a stranglehold on that top spot right now with how well he's been running, at the start. But, hopefully these last 10 races we can come on strong and give them a fight.
Beginning in 2 weeks' time at Las Vegas, going to be 4 in a row at the 1.5 milers. How does it make you guys feel?
I think we feel pretty good. I think Jared Crawford and Cody, those guys, they love the 1.5 mile track, so they're really good at setting up the cars there. So hopefully we can come up with something good and be contending for the wins there. Those aren't my best tracks. I feel like I'm a little better at the shorter tracks, but even last year we were really good at the 1.5 miles and able to get some wins. So hopefully we can have that same luck and, like I said, try to battle our way back here in the points.
We talked at the top of the ninth that, well, it hasn't been a poor season for you guys. In fact, it has been fairly well. You guys have been quiet. Well, quiet no more. You make the boom here tonight at Richmond International Raceway in Victory Lane, and hopefully for you guys, the first of a couple times in 2016. Before we let you go, give you an opportunity to the sponsors, the shout-outs, all those good people behind the scenes. Who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, like I said, I got to thank Peak Antifreeze once again for the second year in a row having them on board and able to get them the championship last year and get them a race win here tonight. It's pretty cool, and everybody at iRacing puts this together. You guys at RaceSpot here broadcasting, I got to thank all you guys for doing all you do and keep up the good work, and that's about all I got.
Oh, hey, we appreciate you sticking around and chat with us. Congratulations. Good luck. We'll see you in Vegas.
Thank you.
That is tonight's winner from the Richmond International Raceway. Kenny Humpy takes home his first checkered flag in 2016. It also marks, again, career win number 8. Alan Bowes up there in the championship conversation as well. With a good night, he's able to hold on to a P2 in a spirited battle late with Ray Alfala at Cam. You're down trackside with the driver of the 21.
Yes, the number 21 Toyota, Alan Bowes. Well, you started in 11th position, just outside the top 10. Probably had some good views to some good runnings and some good restarts there at the start. Mostly caution-laden for the first 100 laps, but we went green pretty solid at the end there. Take me through your race here at Richmond International.
Qualifying 11th definitely helped a lot. Track like Richmond, it's pretty hard to pass, and starting that well really helped. The weather, though, that really threw us for a loop. We had to throw a lot of stuff at it in warm-up. Overall, the car was absolutely fantastic after about 15 to 20 laps. It really started to come in, and we were able to just pick them off one by one and hold steady there at the end, hold off Alfala.
Well, and that's no easy feat, to say the very least. But, yeah, you guys had that pit stop cycle. Kenny Humpy, he went off into the distance. About how long in that final stint did you think perhaps you could catch him and then transfer that to just fighting in amongst yourself and that number 2 car?
I kind of figured when he came out of the pits about a second and a half behind me, it was going to be pretty hard to keep him behind me. But, I mean, Humpy is Humpy. He's always been a great driver, and to only finish 3 seconds behind him, I mean, that's pretty awesome. And then be able to hold off Alfala like I did, that was even better. I mean, it was, all in all, it was just a great night, and I really think it was a statement for us.
Well, that it very well much. And, well, I mean, it's not a bad night to start almost outside the top 10 and finish right in the, well, what we would consider the UPN world the podium, but there's no such thing as a podium here. But either way, though, still a second place, not bad at all for that Toyota. And, well, I mean, we kind of had the trouble, just kind of a final question here. We had that trouble here. It's not like Phoenix where we went green all the way through. We had a string of cautions after cautions, and it was pretty tricky at the restarts here. Richmond's always been a difficult track to restart with how circular it is. I happen to see quite a few of those battles. Did you end up getting stuck in any of those?
There were a couple where I'd end up 3 wide in a situation where it wasn't exactly the best. But, I mean, that's what you got to do, though. You got to go through that sometimes, and as long as you can get through it cleanly and come out the other side ahead of the 2 that you were battling, and, I mean, that's what you came here to do.
Well, it came away with it in second position indeed. Alan, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Houston Hamer, Ian Plash as well. They did a great job on the box and spotter stand tonight. The entire team at Dead Zone, we really rallied together this week, put together a great car. DragonTech.com, RAR Chevette, they're on the car each and every week, and without them, it wouldn't be possible.
All right, well, Alan Bowes in that number 21 Toyota Camry coming home in second position just ahead of Ray Alfalla. Back to you, Evan.
So a strong finish for Alan Bowes. Ray Alfalla, who led majority of this race, especially late, he ends up with a third place finish tonight, 2.9 seconds in the end, behind Kenny Humpy and just shy of Alan Bowes as they fought tooth and nail for P2 all the way to the checkered flag, and down in the pit stall at the number 2 is Tim Terry.
Ray Alfalla coming home with position number 3 here this evening. Ray, you had looked like a dominant car coming down to the green flag pit stops. What happened in that exchange to put you back to third?
Yeah, Tim, I'm not sure. I mean, the Alfalla Tech Ford was okay. The cloudy weather really threw us for a loop, so we were kind of scrambling around before the race to get the balance right. And we started off and it was way too loose, and then we tightened it up. And then we came out in the lead after some pit stops, and we were really fast. And Kenny kind of ran us down before the green flag stops there, and then he just kind of found an extra gear. And so I mean, it's a little disappointing just knowing that you pit with the lead and kind of finished the race third, but it is what it is. It's a short track and a lot of stuff can happen, so we'll take a third place.
A lot of traffic, especially around lap 150 where you guys came down pit road and then having to chase Alan Bowes. Any nervous moments there as you guys tiptoed through that traffic?
Yeah, I mean, I probably pitted a little too late. I've been caught off by pitting too early and having the yellow come out here past a few races, so I ended up pitting a little later than those guys, and they kind of jumped us, and then it was just too hard to pass them back. I almost lost it up for 2 one time trying to get by Alan. But I mean, overall, it was a fun race considering the weather wasn't the most fun to drive. But I was looking forward to having a pretty slick track, and it ended up just being extremely grippy, and the cars is just on edge all the time. But we're still running well, and thanks to everyone on Slip Angle and X Racing, and we'll go to Vegas in 2 weeks.
It's early in this season. It's only 6 races in. Without the drop, though, you head back to the point lead, and 3 drivers start to pull away a little bit. You, PJ, and Alan Bowes up in front. Do you take any look into that point standing right now with 10 races to go?
Yeah, I mean, you're always looking at them. I expect those 2 guys to be in contention. I also expect Kenny and Chris Overland. I mean, he went 3 laps down, and he still ended up finishing 10th. So, and Jake had some issues, but he's usually very fast. So, I mean, the whole, top 5, 6, 7, or, all those guys are going to be strong the rest of the season. And, it's still too early to really start thinking about, where you have to finish, because it's way too early for that. But you always kind of keep an eye on the points and try to finish as best as you can every week.
Some mile-and-a-halfers coming up. You mentioned Vegas, Charlotte, Chicagoland, Kentucky coming up here in this little summer stretch that we have. Do we see the second win of the season for the number 2 next week or the next time we see you at Las Vegas?
It'd be nice. We've the Slip Angle and NX Alliance has been really strong at the intermediate tracks lately, and we have 4 of them in a row coming up. So, we expect to be strong for those races, but. As is usual in this series, you don't stay dominant for too long. So we feel like a lot of the teams have caught up to us in a way. So we're always just trying. I know Joey Brown, PJ Sergio's, Nolan Scott. They put a lot of brains into what we were doing setup wise. And I mean, I probably ran over 1,000 laps, just kind of getting the feel for the track, and we were really confident coming into the race, but we didn't really anticipate the weather being what it was. So, we'll just keep that in mind for future races. Although I don't expect the weather at Vegas to be cloudy.
We'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time. The Alfalla Tech Ford number 2, Ray Alfalla, comes home in position number 3, and Evan, another solid run for this car, heads up to the point lead heading into this summer stretch. Watch that 2 car. I think he's got something here.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is he's going to take over the top spot in the championship. PJ Sturgis going to drop down to second after tonight's result. Ray Alfalla has the advantage by 9 points. through 6 races in 2016. A solid 4th place tonight for the driver of the number 10, Corey Vincent, with a strong result and a strong night. Started P6. He comes home 4th. Caught it with him now down in the stall of the number 10 Chevrolet. Corey, congrats for the good run. The good news is the number 10 Chevrolet is clean. That is much better than what many guys can say tonight at a Richmond International Raceway styled event. You guys had a good car and you finished inside the top 5. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we had a pretty good car. I'm pretty happy with that run. The weather kind of threw us, kind of set us back a little bit. We're definitely not prepared for that, for those conditions. I had to make some pretty big adjustments and warm up just to get the drive decent. But luckily, we made some pretty good adjustments, and the race car was pretty solid. It didn't take off as well as I would like it to, but in the middle of the run, it would come in. But yeah, to finish 4th place, that's really happy with that. I was getting tight at the very end there, so getting tight in the center, so I didn't really have anything for Ray and Alan and them, but pretty happy with 4th.
The car retained being good through the night, and a lot of guys talking about the weather for this one because we looked at qualifying, we said we're not under the lights, we're under the sun. That changed very quickly for the drop of the green flag with very overcast skies and very cooled conditions. How much did that change that race car?
Oh, it changed it completely. Like I said, we had to make some huge adjustments. It just when the weather's that cool, 'cause I mean we tested in hotter weather and we were not prepared for cool weather. And get cool weather like that, the car just you need a completely different setup pretty much. But we were able to make some pretty good adjustments and warm up and got it close, and then made some more adjustments on the pit stops. And at the end, I would say it was pretty good.
A good season as well continues. Going to be your 2nd top 5 on the year. And the good news is we roll forward for the next 4 weeks, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're racing at intermediate racetracks. And obviously you have the trip to Victory Lane from 2015 at the Kentucky Speedway. That track in the list for round number 10. What can you guys do for these next couple of weeks to take advantage of those tracks?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the mile and a halves. Like you said, we got that win last year, and a couple weeks ago we had a pretty good run at Texas, so definitely looking forward to that. We're going to work with my guys. First off, I want to thank all the guys at Overclock, Chris, Travis, and Drew. Thank all their help for this week, and I think we're going to work, and I think we'll have a pretty solid car for Vegas and weeks after.
We wish you the best of luck closing into those. A strong run, P4, in search of that 2nd win. Corey Vincent moves into the top 10 in the championship tonight at Richmond International Raceway. Corey, thanks again. Good luck.
Thank you.
That is the 4th place result tonight for Corey Vincent, as I noted, the 2nd top 5 for him in 2016. And a great result for Matt Busa, who started P12 and fought late, stays in front of Dylan Duval as a part of that late race scrap to the checkered flag. So he gets a P5, and Cam's caught up with him.
Yeah, Matt Busa, another Toyota Camry here. Well, you've come away with 5th position. I have to say it was extraordinarily hard fought. We kept looking back, and that's purple and black 34, well, I guess pink and black, 34 was always in the fights, and you came away with it a good race here at Richmond.
Yeah, definitely happy with the top 5 here. A little bit disappointed, actually, because I think I had potentially something to compete with Humpy there, but I decided to short pit on that long green flag run, and I think Humpy pit maybe 4 or 5 laps later, and then towards the end of the run got down to within like a tenth of what he was running. So I think if maybe I stayed out a little longer or had better track position at the start, that I could have caught up there to Humpy, but regardless, happy with the top 5.
Well, a top 5 indeed. Now, Richmond International, I mean, it's it being a 3/4 mile, it's not necessarily a track we normally find ourselves at, but you seem to be pretty A-okay with it. You were running, fairly good laps, but you're just dealing with so much traffic. It's pretty difficult to get around another car here.
Yeah, at the beginning of the runs, especially when the groove is more down in the first lane, it's really hard to set up runs on them. And as the run went on, it got a little bit easier. But if you catch up to somebody who's running the outside lane, which is what I was running all the time, then it really gave me a challenge to try to get by them on the bottom. And earlier in the race, I had to make somewhat of a dirty pass on Conti and chop his nose off just to hold him off on the high side.
Well, it's sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But either way, though, I mean, starting from 12th position all the way up to 5th, that's no small feat, especially a very changing race. I mean, we started the race, the track temperature is only 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was cloudy. Not necessarily what we had in qualifying. You had to make a lot of adjustments to the car?
Yeah, I think in warm-up I increased my right rear spring at least like 200, and right rear track bar I had to jack that up quite a bit too. And luckily the changes were pretty stout, and just kind of wish I had a little bit better of a qualifying effort there.
Well, either way, a little bit better qualifying, perhaps maybe at Vegas, and you could strike gold out there on the West Coast. But either way, Matt Booth, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I gotta thank all the guys at Gale Force Racing for all the hard work we put in and week out. Some new additions of Joe Galata and Rick Little. Been working really hard the last 2 weeks for this race. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jesse Kovacs and Kovacs Financial Group. They decided to come on board for 2 races here later in the season. So nice to get a sponsor on board.
Well, absolutely. We can't wait to see them as we go on. But for now, Matt, we'll see you later. We'll see you at Vegas. And for then, we'll see you later. So you take care. And Evan, I believe that is the whole of our top 5 here at Richmond.
That about just does it for our RaceSpotTV post-race show tonight. Did do want to remind you next Tuesday that you can tune in on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive for iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on May the 3rd, and then we'll be back at it the following Tuesday, the 10th of May, from Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 7th race in 2016. It was an interesting night at Richmond, though. We talked a little bit about pit strategy early, which really is interesting because the race kind of came down to pit strategy at the end on a green flag stop. Only one of the night is what decided it. Kenny Humpy took advantage of it, capitalized, went on to get the win. But we had the weather throwing these guys curveballs. We had a couple of short stints of yellows. We saw multiple people up front. I think it was a great race.
Oh, I think absolutely. I mean, Richmond, it being a 3/4 mile. I grew up, the closest asphalt I have is a 5/8 mile, which isn't that far off from a 3/4 mile. So it's just produces great racing. We saw that here, showed us exactly what these guys could do, and we had a great race. 20 cars finishing on the lead lap, especially with all these cautions. That is not a bad day at all.
And I will be a little bit biased in this aspect, Tim, but we look forward for round 7 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It will be interesting, not only just to go to that racetrack, which a lot of guys like, I know, but as we mentioned multiple times tonight, that we're getting a bunch of these intermediate tracks together. We've been to Atlanta, and we've been to Texas. We're going to go to Las Vegas, Charlotte, Chicago, Kentucky, 4 1.5-mile tracks in a row. If you like those tracks, this is your chance to do something.
And when you look back historically on the series, Jake Sturgis got his first win at Las Vegas, and he played a little bit of pit strategy, a couple of cautions late in that race to get that first win. There's been a lot of first-time winners there. You look way back in the series, Sandy Banerjee won his first race at that racetrack. I think we might see something play out there that is going to be a little bit historic, and you can use all the metaphorical rolling the dice, putting all your chips on red, but I think we're going to see something that we haven't seen before here in this series. And tonight, I thought we were going to see the strategy play out. I thought we were going to see another caution. It was going to play out to David Rattler's favor, but we didn't see that. I thought we were going to see Ray Alfala pick up another win, but the team comes out on top. Congratulations to Kenny Humpy on getting his 2nd consecutive win at the Richmond International Raceway. And we move forward to Las Vegas. There's now 3 drivers that are up front. Jake Sturgis had that bad night, falls back a little bit from those top 3. Alfala, Alan Bowes, and PJ Sturgis going in to Las Vegas trying to make another statement. I think Las Vegas might be a turning point in this season one way or the other.
Inside of the final 10 races in this calendar as well. But Nick Ottinger in 2013 and 14, and now Kenny Humpy takes his crack at going back-to-back at Richmond. Winner in 2015, and then winner tonight for his 8th career win here in round number 6. And with that, I want to remind you again that you can find us every Tuesday here on iRacingLive, and we want you to be in the conversation all the time. Again, make sure to tweet to us at RaceSpotTV using the hashtag iRacingWCS, and also remember the promo code PR-RaceSpotNASCAR. You can get a 3-month iRacing subscription for the price of one if you want to get on track and maybe one day be here on Tuesday nights. But until next time, that wraps things up from Ridgeway, Virginia. And we want to thank all of you for watching this presentation of RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacingLive, Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. For more information on the iRacing World Championship Series, please visit wcs.iracing.com. On behalf of RaceSpotTV's director Hugo Louise and Will Vincent, everybody else behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV, and for the broadcast crew tonight, for Tim Terry, Cam Walsh, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to congratulate your defending champ, Kenny Humpy, checkered flag tonight at America's premier short track at his 8th career NASCAR Beginning for Series victory, and we hope to see you all next week for iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. And then the following Tuesday, the 10th of May, mark the calendar, round number 7 of the 2016 NASCAR Beginning for Series, powered by iRacing from America's Racing Showplace, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That race and every race going to be right here on RaceSpotTV. Until then, good night.